Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome back to yet another live stream. I feel like I live stream every day at the moment, but of course, 17, 18, and 19 were all in quick succession. I mean, the gap between game week 18 and 19 is literally like less than a day, I think it's been. But before game week 20, we have a little bit more of a break. So this is the final stream for a little bit, but I genuinely have enjoyed it. And you guys know how much I love the streaming. I guess excitingly for me, it makes the live stream a little bit more interesting. There are much more decisions to make for game week 19 than there were for game week 18. Game week 18 was mainly like benching decisions. And then a lot of people were rolling their transfer or just replacing Reece James. Of course, because we have a double game week now, and a lot of people do have 2 free transfers, there are a lot of decisions to make. So I'm going to go through as many of your questions as possible, try and give you all of the answers that I can. And hopefully, as always, we'll get some green arrows off the back of it. So do say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And good to see so many people, already over 1,000 people in the stream, which is absolutely amazing to see. I've seen some very differing opinions around the double game week. Some people saying it's a double game week, you get 2 games, just go for it. A lot of people still captain Haaland. A lot of people put off of the Chelsea attack. I'm probably one of them. I don't like to knee-jerk, but it was slightly off-putting watching Chelsea, not only against Forest, but also in 17 as well. I don't think Chelsea have looked good from an attacking perspective for a while, so maybe that's put me off slightly. We've got the Mitrovic 4 yellow cards. We've got difficulties who to bench because a lot of us are bringing Andreas into our starting 11, which means that we've now got to bench one of our more expensive attackers. City play against Chelsea. How is that going to go? It's a slightly difficult one to predict because if the correct Chelsea turn up, it could be a good game. Otherwise, do we just start our City players? Newcastle against Arsenal. I mean, this is a difficult week. Let me know in the chat if you equally think this is an incredibly difficult week to try and predict. I feel like there are about 8 to 10 key decisions that I need to make, and I'm struggling with all of them. Who to bench, who to captain, who to bring in, what to do with my Arsenal and Newcastle players, who to start, who to bench. It really, really is quite tricky. And to be honest, I would say this is probably the most difficult game week of the season for me, without a doubt, with decisions that I need to make. So I'm going to try and help you whilst also making my own decisions. I haven't made any transfers yet. I haven't decided on captaincy yet. I have done very, very little. So without further ado, let's take a look at the team. Very briefly, green arrow in game week 18. I can't believe it. So I was on 57 points going into Sunday. I didn't own Kepa, I didn't own Cucurella, didn't own Kane. There were loads of rank threats. Kane blanked and Chelsea conceded, which means I got it was about a 60 place green arrow up to 1871. So 2 green arrows back to back, which is really good on the back of the unlimited transfers team. Let's see how that goes in game week 19. So I'm just going to very quickly, I will get to answering all your questions, do not worry, but I think it's useful to talk about where my head's at with my team currently. So the decisions that I have to make, I've got 2 free transfers and 0.8 million in the bank. So the way that I'm thinking through this is, yes, it's not a great double game week, but a double game week is still a double, and they do get hopefully, if you pick the right player, 180 minutes versus 90. And if you're looking at someone like Martial, who's probably like to get 70 minutes, versus Mitrovic, who, if he doesn't get booked, gets 180, an extra 110 minutes of football is absolutely massive. And you do need to take that into context and take that into account when you're making your decisions. So that's something that I'm thinking about. And then it's trying to predict the trickier fixtures, which is City, Chelsea, and also Newcastle, Arsenal. Now, I'm really struggling with this because I could bench Ben White and Martinelli, and then I could start Castagna and bring in Mount for Foden, for example. But I don't know how I feel benching 2 players at home who from the best team in the league at the moment. And that hurts saying that as a Manchester United fan, but Arsenal are the best team in the league at the moment. So why would I want to bench Martinelli and White? But then I guess I've got Trippier, so now I've got a bit of a clash. As you can tell, I don't think the decisions are very straightforward this week. My initial thought process was going to be bring in Mount for Foden, so I'll just switch my team back to how it was. The initial thought process was start Castagna ahead of White, bring in Mount for Foden, and captain Mount. The reason I'm not massively keen on that is, number one, Chelsea really don't look very good at the moment, and that's not just a knee-jerk. Even in Game Week 17, I don't think they looked great. Before the World Cup, I don't think they were excellent, and especially from an attacking perspective, they've had some of the least shots in the league. They don't create many big chances, so I don't know that I even want Mount, especially as one of the fixtures is against Manchester City. And the other one's against Fulham. Fulham are doing fairly well this year, so I'm less keen on Mount as a result. Also, yes, Foden's been benched 5 of the last 6 games, but he does have a double in 20. I would be extremely shocked if he doesn't start one of the double games in game week 20. There's a 5-day gap between them, which is big enough to not start, to start the same team again. But I think we'll see a little bit of rotation. I would expect him to start one of them. I would maybe expect him to start 2 of these 3. Pep tends to like him in the big games, but I can also sell him next week if I want to. But I guess the thought process is, why am I bringing in Mount, who I don't really like, for a double this week, when Foden's got a double next week, and I can just bring in someone else to captain? So then my thought process was, well, then I'll start Martinelli ahead of Foden. So that's the thought process there. Then I really want a better captain than Andreas. I don't feel entirely comfortable captaining Haaland in a double game week. So now I'm starting to think, do I bring in Mitrovic for Martial? So my current plan, with my 2 free transfers and 0.8 in the bank, sorry, my internet's lagging a little bit, is to do Martial out. There we go. The internet is struggling. Hopefully it doesn't cut out for you guys. Martial out for Mitrovic, and then roll the second transfer. I'd still have 0.4 million in the bank, and that would give me Mitrovic captaincy. It would allow me to play Martinelli instead of Foden, and then next week, Foden has the double. I don't have to keep him, though. I could then sell him next week for Erdegaard, Almiron. I can sell him for whoever I want. I'm just less keen on the Chelsea attackers at the moment. Now, I don't want to sell Martial. If we look at Manchester United's fixtures, the Bournemouth fixture is excellent. There are rumours that we could get a potential double game week in 20, although it looks like, I think Ben Crellin said 55% chance of a double in game week 20 for Manchester United, and one of those fixtures is against City. But then some really nice fixtures post that little spell against City and Arsenal. So I don't necessarily really want to sell Martial. But like I said, Martial is likely to get you 70 minutes. I much prefer Mitrovic for 180 if he doesn't get booked in the first game than I do for Martial for 70. So I guess you pick Mitrovic, you captain him, and you hope that he doesn't get booked. The only other thing that I've got to try and work out and decide is, do I start White or Castagna? So I'm actually going to run that poll, because that's a fairly easy poll to start, and then I'll get to answering some of your questions. Who would you start? That's a fairly easy one to start with, and then I'll get forward to talking about Martial and Mitrovic in a little bit more detail. But hopefully that's clear. The other thing is also, obviously, I've got Reece James on the bench. A lot of people asking why I'm not replacing Reece James. I think I've got 4 good defenders. I've got Shaw, Trippier, White, and Castagna. I'm happy playing any of those 4. As you can see, I've already got a debate between Ben White and Castagna. I really don't need to replace James this week. The only person that makes sense to replace James with this week is a double game week plan. Like I said, I don't trust the Chelsea defense. I don't really want to bring in a Fulham defender either. So I think I'll just make the move next week. So at the moment, I'm actually only planning on using probably one of my free transfers and then rolling the second free transfer, which is incredibly boring, but we'll see. So who would you start? White against Newcastle or Castagna against Fulham? As always, let's try and make this poll, not 50-50, because every single week I run a poll and it ends up being 50-50. If you are enjoying the stream, by the way, already early on, please do drop a like, please do subscribe. As I always say, if you like the stream, the reason streamers ask you to like is YouTube assume people are enjoying the stream, and then they'll suggest the stream to other people. So I would massively appreciate if you do like the stream. That goes a long way for me. Right, let's answer some of these questions then. Hi, Rossi. Hello, True Fandela. I don't have Andreas nor Mitrovic. Would you sell Kane/Darwin for Mitro, or roll my second free transfer and play Kepa? Sure. I wouldn't sell Kane or Darwin for Mitrovic. The only issue you've got is you don't have a very good captaincy option from the doublers. But if you're happy captaining Haaland, True Fandela, I would not sell Kane or Darwin for Mitrovic. I think if you look across the next 4 to 5 weeks, I would expect both Kane and Darwin to outscore Mitro. Yes, he's got the extra fixture this week, but the fixtures aren't great long term for Fulham, and he is on 4 yellows. So I think I prefer Kane and Darwin myself. Mr. Simply FPL has been a member for 2 months. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you. Bench Zaha or Erdegaard? I would bench. Who do Palace have? Why don't I know who Palace have? It's all right. I only talk about FPL 400 times a week. Who do Palace have? I tend to only know for players with who do Palace? Oh, Spurs. I'd play Erdegaard. Palace don't look terrible, but they certainly don't look great at the moment. And so I'm just straightening that up. And whilst it is Newcastle, Erdegaard and Arsenal look absolutely ridiculously good. So I would back the player in form personally myself. Sell Cancelo or James for a hit, for a -4 hit, and bring in Shaw. If you need, like, I assume you don't have 3 decent defenders to play outside of that. So if you need another defender, then I don't mind it. But I never like taking hits for defenders. It looks like there's a very good chance that Luke Shaw plays at centre-back for one final game against Bournemouth. So you're probably unlikely to get attacking returns if he does, but you're likely to get bonus points if he keeps clean sheet. Would you free hit or bench boost? I certainly wouldn't free hit. It's not a week to free hit for me. I don't mind the bench boost, but I still think there will be better opportunities in the future to bench boost. I have to pick 3 from Trippier, Shaw, Gabriel, Robertson and Cancelo. For this game week, who would you pick? There are rumours that Tsimikas is starting. I've not seen anything concrete, but I've seen a few rumours floating around that Tsimikas starts. So I would probably bench Robertson and... Oh, that's a tough one. Probably Robertson and Gabriel. You could bench Robertson and Cancelo, but that feels very wrong. I think Cancelo will start this one, personally. I said that last week, though, so who knows? Who knows? Any thoughts on a bold Foden to Ødegaard move? I like it, but I don't like it this week. I don't think this is the week to do so, for me anyway, because if I do Foden to Ødegaard, I have to bench Ødegaard or Martinelli, so I don't like it for me this week. If it works for your team, that's fine. I think in future weeks, Foden to Ødegaard probably makes more sense than necessarily before Newcastle at home. Thoughts on captaining Rashford? I'm too scared to go against Haaland. Thanks for the great content. If the way that you play that helps you enjoy the game is to captain Haaland, just captain Haaland. It's not a huge issue. Like, people really complain about others that play the game according to fear of missing out and ownership. Like, if that helps you play the game and helps you to enjoy the game, captain Haaland. I would prefer to captain Haaland to Rashford just because of his consistency, the fact that he's on penalties and the fact that City are a better attack. But you would say that Bournemouth at home is arguably one of the best fixtures you can have in the Premier League. So it's up to you, Alan. But I'm going to be captaining a doubler. It will be Andreas or Mitrovic probably that I'll be captaining. Bench 2 of Robertson, Cancelo, Trippier, White. Cheers. Again, if the rumours are true, let's wait. Don't confirm it yet, obviously. But let's see if we get any news before the deadline about Liverpool. There are rumours that Tsimikas starts, in which case you can bench Robertson. And then I would probably bench Ben White out of the others. Just Cancelo and Trippier, when they play, have got decent attacking threat and they're playing for 2 really good defences. I know White is as well. I could see Newcastle conceding. And of course, White doesn't have as much attacking threat as the others. Should I do Kane? Oh, I lost that. 1 sec. Should I do... Wow, there's a lot of chat messages. I'll try and get to as many questions as possible. Apologies, guys. Should I do Kane or Darwin to Mitrovic? No, I wouldn't be selling Kane or Darwin for Mitrovic. I'm selling Martial because he's got very reduced minutes, and the 2 fixtures after Bournemouth are City and Arsenal. So I'm looking at it as, if I can get Mitrovic for 180 minutes as a captain versus Martial for 70 minutes, I back him to outscore Martial. And then, whilst Mitrovic's fixtures aren't great in 20 and 21, as long as Manchester United don't get that double game week, they're probably still better than Martial's. So I'm looking at it more at the next 3 weeks. If he doesn't get booked, I probably prefer Mitrovic to Martial, and it gives me a better captaincy option this week. But I don't think I would feel comfortable selling Kane or Darwin. I'm certainly not selling Darwin. I know it's become a bit of a meme, but I think Darwin's excellent still. He just needs to start converting some of those chances. James to Luke Shaw done. Very nice. I think I've seen a few people in the chat. Let me know in the chat, have you done James to Shaw? I think James to Shaw is if you don't own Luke Shaw, it feels like a relatively straightforward transfer. And Nketiah to Mitrovic or roll. If it's... so you say roll. So it would be for free Nketiah to Mitrovic. I think I would do Nketiah to Mitrovic for free. I wouldn't do it for a hit, but I think I would do it for free. Not to say Nketiah isn't a great option, but it's similar to what I'm saying here, that Nketiah probably won't get 90, he might. He's playing against a really good Newcastle defence. And if Mitrovic doesn't get booked, you get him for 180 minutes. So it's probably worth the risk there. Can't afford Mitrovic for Martial, thus selling Darwin. And Rashford captaincy. Rashford captaincy I don't think is crazy. Like I said, I think there are better options, but I don't hate it. I don't like selling Darwin. I know everyone goes absolutely crazy at me for saying Darwin's got great data because if he doesn't convert, and I understand that, then the data doesn't matter. I don't think people realise how good Darwin's data is in terms of how many chances he's getting. I genuinely think if you put a Sunday League footballer in a team and they got that many chances on a regular basis across a season, I would expect them to start converting those chances. And Darwin is a good finisher. I'm not buying into the fact that he's a poor finisher. I think he's in a poor run of form for his finishing. But if he continues to get the amount of chances, he's going to convert them. So I want to keep Darwin. And I also think his fixtures are slightly better than Martial's over the next 3. So for me, I don't like selling Darwin. I do think it's a matter of time until he starts converting. If you want to jump off of him, though, I don't hate it. Thanks, Frosty. I'll get to them in a second. Thoughts on Che Adams? I don't mind it. I think there are better options than Che Adams, though, personally. Right, so most of you prefer Ben White to Castagna, which I expected because more people own Ben White than Castagna. The next poll I want to run is about Mitrovic. I want to know, do you own him? Are you captaining him? I want to know, because Mitrovic is the main talking point here. Right, I've just run a poll for Mitrovic. I want to know, are you captaining Mitrovic? Do you own him, but you're not captaining him? Are you captaining someone else? Or you just don't own him? I'd like to know what the current situation is for you with Mitrovic. I'm currently, if the deadline was now, I would be selling Martial for Mitrovic. I don't like selling Tony Gloves before Bournemouth at home. I think it's a great fixture, but I do think that Mitrovic, if he doesn't get booked, which we're taking a risk with, I do think he's the best captaincy option this week. I think that, especially given the fact that they've got Chelsea at home. Chelsea do not look good. Fulham are brilliant at home. I actually think those are 2 decent fixtures from an attacking perspective for Fulham. I expect them to score goals in both games. So I quite like the idea of having Andreas and Mitrovic. The only risk, obviously, is if Mitrovic does get booked against Leicester in the first game, he does indeed miss Chelsea. I've seen a few people questioning that because there's a cup game in between Leicester and Chelsea. Premier League players do not serve yellow card suspensions in domestic cups. They can't serve yellow card suspensions in the EFL Cup or the FA Cup. They can serve red card suspensions. So interestingly, I'm almost certain this is correct. If Mitrovic picks up a yellow card against Leicester, he's suspended for Chelsea. If he picks up a second yellow and gets sent off, he can serve that suspension in the cup, I believe. I don't believe he gets a 2-game ban. I think it's still a 1-game ban for the red card. So technically, the smart thing to do for Mitrovic, if he gets booked, is to get booked again in like the 93rd minute, miss the cup game, and then he's back for Chelsea. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys, but I think that's the case. Dusk says, if I transfer out Foden for Andreas, my midfield is Martinelli, Rashford, Salah, Andreas, and Almiron. Would you start Martinelli or Almiron? Because I can't decide. I think that's virtually impossible to decide. They've got similar data across the season. I would start Martinelli because I think Arsenal are a slightly better team and it's at home. But if you've got a slight inkling or you've got a slight gut feeling towards one of them, just pick the one you've got a gut feeling for. But I think if I put on my objective hat, I think Martinelli's a slightly better option on paper. Mainly for the home fixture part. But like I said, I think that Newcastle are a better defence than Arsenal. But I think that Arsenal are a better attack. So I think if you're talking about the attackers, I think it slightly makes more sense to back the Arsenal attacker. Luca Dean for James. I've seen quite a few people mention Luca Dean, actually. Let's have a quick look at Luca Dean. So his fixtures are Wolves and Leeds at home, followed by Southampton. There's a little bit of a tricky run, but generally the fixtures are decent. They've actually played really well under Emery, defensively and from an attack perspective. Listen, they've had Newcastle United, Brighton, Liverpool, Tottenham. There's been some tricky games. They've been playing relatively well in them. I think, did Emery take over for the Manchester United game? Or was it for the Newcastle game? Either way, I saw some stats. Their data's decent under Emery. I think Luca Dean's data has improved as well. So I think it makes sense to... I think it makes a little bit of sense to start looking at Aston Villa players. I don't know if I would put in Luca Dean ahead of someone like Luke Shaw. But if you're looking for a decent defender for this week, Wolves at home is an excellent fixture. And then he's fine for 20 and 21. And I guess what you need to remember is a lot of our teams look really weak in Game Week 20 and Game Week 21 because there are a lot of fixture clashes. So if you have a really nice option in someone like Luke Dean, then maybe you do. I'm still not fully convinced, but I don't hate it, I suppose. I suppose the issue we've got with Luke Dean is he is a real troll. Like a lot of us have brought in Luke Dean before and he's really trolled us. So it's if you can get around the fact that he's hurt us a little bit in the past. We have got over 4,000 people in the chat, which is awesome. So if you could please drop a like on the stream as you're watching this and make sure to subscribe as well. We're very close to 57,000 subscribers, fast approaching 60,000. So if you've not subscribed, it's completely free. Click that subscribe button and please drop a like on the stream as well. James to Shaw, Foden to Mount. Yeah, they seem like decent transfers. I'm currently leaning at not doing Foden to Mount so that I can play Martinelli instead, but I don't mind it. I think if Chelsea's fixtures were like Fulham and Tottenham or Fulham and just a slight... It's the fact that it's City. City's just... I don't expect them to get anything from that game. So you're looking at, for most of them, it'll be 1 or 2 points plus what they get against Fulham. Would you captain Mount against Fulham plus 2 points versus Haaland? And I think that's the way I'm thinking about it. Whereas Mitrovic and Andreas, I like both fixtures for them because I really don't think Chelsea are playing well. And Leicester just seem to have picked up their defensive form from previously, like back at like the start of the season. So I actually think both fixtures are decent for Fulham. Jamie Nightingale asks, hello, mate. Fernandes and Greenwood to Andreas and Mitrovic for a -4. Bench Martinelli to play Andreas. I don't mind it, but I've decided I don't think I like the idea of benching Martinelli particularly. But a -4 to get 2 extra fixtures, and I assume a captain in Mitrovic, then yeah, that looks pretty good on paper. So I don't mind that, Jamie. Bench 1 of Foden, Rashford, Saka, Ødegaard, Andreas. Feels so wrong to bench Ødegaard with his stats and the form he's in, or bench Darwin or Kane. I'd bench Foden or Ødegaard probably out of those two. Captain Salah. I don't mind Salah. I think Salah's fine. If you're going for a single game week player, I don't mind Salah. I think if I was going single game week, I'd probably just captain Haaland. But I don't mind it. If it was at home, I'd feel slightly more comfortable. I don't think Brentford away is a great fixture. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like Tony could be fit for it as well, which obviously makes just Brentford a better side in general. So 42% of you in the chat, captain is going to... 42% of you are going to captain Mitrovic. 42% of you don't own Mitrovic. So it's a dead split between captaincy and don't own. And only 16% of you own but are not captaining him. So basically, if you own Mitrovic, most of you are going to captain him. But almost half of the chat don't own Mitrovic, which is crazy to me. It's wild. I guess some of you might still bring him in and you might have voted don't own. Why Martinelli over Foden? I also went with Luka Dean. I just don't know if Foden's going to start. I know Martinelli will, and it's at home for Martinelli. So I feel like Martinelli's just the slightly better option. But if Foden starts, you could... If I knew Foden would start, I may well start him ahead of Martinelli, but I don't know he's going to start, and I still don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes. Pep was talking about body language. He was talking about certain players smiling in training and all of that. So as things stand, when I don't know what's going to happen with Foden, I don't know exactly why he's being benched, and I don't know tactically what Pep's thinking, I think it makes slightly more sense to just go for Martinelli. But I don't mind if you want to start Foden. Best Kulusevski swap, own Saka and Martinelli, not Andreas or Mount. Depends what your formation and your structure is. I like Andreas if you want to take some money out and you can bench him most weeks. If you need to start the player every week, it probably makes more sense to go for someone like a Mason Mount because you've got that price point in your team then. It really depends on your team and the rest of your structure, really. Marcelo, Mr. Max says, Cancelo to Cucurella or roll the 1 free transfer and play Cancelo/Castagna. Well, that's a really strong team. I think you could play Trippier, Castagna, or Cancelo. Yeah, I don't think you need to do the Cucurella move personally. I think your team's absolutely fine. I'd play Trippier probably, or you could play Castagna or Cancelo. I think the team's super strong. I think you're fine not making that move personally. I just don't think there are... Let me know in the chat if you disagree. I don't think there are many clean sheets in this for Chelsea. I look at that City at home. I'd be shocked if City don't score. And like I said, Fulham have scored in it. I'm pretty sure this is correct. Fulham have scored in every home game this season in the Premier League. So if I'm backing both teams to score, then I don't think Cucurella, considering his attacking threat is very low, I don't think he's a fantastic option. 419 Merchant has become a Rap Tier 1 member. Thank you very much for becoming a member. I do appreciate that. Welcome to the family. Right, let me get Discord up because I think I've missed loads. And Frosty was collecting a couple of them for me. Make sure to vote on that poll in the chat. I want to know what you're doing with Mitrovic. Oh, wow, I've missed so many. Right, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think that's going to work. We'll come back to those when it's a little bit quieter. Start White or Foden. I would... Oh, that's a tricky one. I would risk it on Foden because I think White is probably 6 points maximum. If he gets an attacking return, that's unlucky. Foden, if he starts... We saw Foden get a hat-trick against Manchester United early in the season. Foden's that kind of player. If Foden got a 19-pointer as my first sub, I would not be surprised. I'd be gutted, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. So if I could start Foden ahead of White, I probably would. Hey, Ross, would you play Bueno or transfer James out? Not a good week for Botman, but seems best long-term. Yeah, Botman, Shaw. Who's Bueno got this week? Who are Wolves playing? They're playing Villa, aren't they? I'll probably just play Bueno. I'd probably play Bueno, Will. But yeah, if you don't want to, I think Botman or Shaw are probably the two best, along with maybe with an Arsenal defender, the best long-term options. Start Martinelli or KDB. I'd start KDB. How to join the member Discord. If you DM one of the moderators on Discord, they'll sort you out. Or just drop me a message. There's also a Rap Tier 1 Verify channel on the Discord as well. When do you think is the best time to switch KDB for Salah? Maybe in Game Week 21, because there's a chance that Liverpool get a double Game Week 21, but not now. Start Martinelli. KDB did that one. What happened to Mount? I'm just not as convinced at the moment about Chelsea attack. It's not just the Forest game. It's previous games as well, but I was hoping we'd see an improvement in the Forest game. They weren't great. They accumulated about a 1.15 XG. Forest are decent at home. I said it was a slightly tricky fixture away against Forest because they are quite good at home, but I think I meant more defensively. I didn't expect to keep a clean sheet. I expected them to score goals, and they just didn't threaten at all. I don't even think they looked great in 17, so I'm slightly put off. And also, like I said, City's a bit of a throwaway game. Unless City crumble, I'm not expecting much against City. And then Fulham are decent at home as well. Are Villa defenders a viable option? Yeah, I said I like Luka Dean. There are some decent options there. I don't know. I think there are so many good cheap, like Botman, White and Shaw, all for less than 5 million, playing in 3 of the best defences in the league. I think that makes more sense at the moment, just because there are so many good cheap options than going for Luka Dean or a Mings or someone like that. Is Tony a hold after Frank's comments on his injury from West Ham? It's a really tricky one. It looks like he might be available, but available is very different from starting. He's playing so well that I would be tempted to keep, unless you don't own Mitrovic, in which case Tony to Mitrovic is probably a decent transfer to make. Liverpool have been so poor defensively. Like I wouldn't mind playing Tony against Liverpool. But again, Mitrovic is still a better option in my opinion. Best Reece James replacements. I still think the best 3 long-term Reece James replacements are Luke Shaw, Botman, and an Arsenal defender. For this week, it's probably Luke Shaw, but then he's got 2 tricky fixtures in 20 and 21. If you want to go for like a Cucurella or a Thiago Silva or an Azpilicueta, I don't mind that. But again, I don't really like the look of the Chelsea defence at the moment. Cancelo, Martinelli, Bueno, and Ward on bench. Is it time for a bench boost? That is a very strong bench, but it's not... I don't hate it. If you want a bench boost, go for it. I much prefer a bench boost in a double game week. I think especially this season, because we've got so many cheap players like Andreas, Amaron, Martinelli, Ødegaard, Rashford, just to name the midfielders, Mitrovic up top, even Solanke, if he has a double, could be decent. We've got so many cheap defenders as well. I think we can put together one of the best bench boosts you've probably seen in the history of FPL. Like, imagine a bench boost of, say, Ødegaard, Andreas, Rashford, and Kepa if they all have double game weeks. And that is feasible. If you look at my team, that would be a feasible double. I think you can put together such a strong bench boost in a double game week. You could end up getting like 40 to 50 points from your bench. So for me, I'm going to say no, save it for a double. But this is probably one of the better weeks to do it in a single game week because we've got such strong options on the bench. Andreas over Martinelli. I can't bench KDB or Darwin. Yeah, I wouldn't bench KDB or Darwin. I would play Andreas ahead of Martinelli for sure. Yeah. I think you back the double. Andreas' data isn't far off of Martinelli's, and he's got 2 fixtures, and he's on set pieces. And if Mitrovic does get injured or books is what I meant in the first game, then Andreas will be on penalties for the Chelsea game. So yeah, I think you've got to start Andreas over pretty much all of your attackers, to be honest. Maybe Haaland's the only one that you could make a claim that you wouldn't start him ahead of. But I think Andreas has to be in your starting 11. Right, so that poll has ended very, very closely. A lot of people don't own Mitrovic. Can I ask you in the chat, if you don't own Mitrovic, if you're one of the people that voted that you don't own him, why not? Is it that it doesn't suit your structure, that you don't want to sell like Darwin and Martial? Or is it the 4 yellow cards that's putting you off? What is it about Mitrovic that you don't want to own at the moment? Or maybe you do, you just can't get him into your team. Too risky, 4 yellows, not great fixtures after. Yellow cards, yellow cards, yellow cards, 3-5-2. Right, it's the yellow cards. Wow. Everyone's saying yellow cards. Yellow cards, bad fixtures. Maybe the long-term fixtures playing a part as well. Yeah, looks like almost everyone is saying 4 yellows. I don't know how much weight to give it. Like I said, I guess the thing is, if he does get booked, you've captained Mitrovic against Leicester. It's not a great captain. There are better captains, but that's not the end of the world. If his first game was like City, I would be a little bit put off. But bench 2 of Trippier, Bueno, White, and Cancelo. I would bench Bueno and White. Personally, posh. Play Bueno or Patterson. I would play... Who do Everton have? Oh my goodness, I'm really struggling with the fixtures today. The deadlines are just flying around so quickly. Everton have Brighton. I don't back that. I would play... but it's away, isn't it? I would probably play Bueno just ahead of Patterson. I'd probably just play Bueno ahead of Patterson. I think he's slightly more attacking as well. Do you pick Trippier because he's the fear of missing out, or do you think he's better this week compared to Castagna? I think he's better. I think he's got better attacking threat, better for bonus, and he's playing in a better defence. I know it's Arsenal away, which is arguably one of the worst fixtures you can have at the moment. If you look at Trippier's returns, he's returned in, I think, every week apart from one. I just don't think it's worth betting against Trippier. It's not really a fear thing. It's just he's so good in FPL. Foden out. Should I bring in Rashford or Mount? I only have Kepa and Andreas as double as I'd bring in Rashford, personally. Rashford looks so good at the moment. Which 2 players to play out of White, Castagna, Bueno, and Almiron? Definitely Almiron. And then I think it's a straight shootout between White and Castagna, which is what I'm struggling with in my team. I'm currently playing White just because Arsenal are a better defence. And actually, Castagna's data isn't that much better than Ben White's. It's better, but it's not that much better that it maybe outplays the defensive capabilities of Arsenal. So it's a difficult one. And I think especially if I bring in Mitrovic, I've got Andreas and Mitrovic against Castagna. So there's a little bit of a clash there. I don't have any Newcastle attackers. So I guess I would say White and Almiron are the 2 that I would start. I know they clash against each other, but these clashes happen in FPL. If you want to back against the clash, then maybe Castagna and Almiron. Should I sell De Bruyne? No, I wouldn't sell De Bruyne ahead of Chelsea. I think that's a great fixture. Would you play Dunk over White? Everton away. Yes, I would play Dunk over White. Martinelli or Almiron? If it's who to start, I genuinely think that's a 50-50, but I would say like 51% Martinelli, 49% Almiron. And as I said, the only reason I would back Martinelli over Almiron is the fact that, oh, my camera's gone, is the fact that it's a home fixture, and also the fact that Arsenal are a slightly better attack than Arsenal. Arsenal are a slightly better attack than Newcastle, I should say. I think Newcastle are the better defence, Arsenal are the better attack. And I think that's why it's such an interesting matchup in game week 19. We're in game week 19? Yeah. Because I think Arsenal are the best attack in the league at the moment, and I think Newcastle are the best defence in the league at the moment. So it's going to be a really, really interesting battle there. I'm going to run a poll for the game. Newcastle... No. Rashford captain over Haaland. Like I said, I think it makes sense to captain a doubler. But if you don't want to captain a doubler this week, I still think the best single game week option is Haaland, especially given how Chelsea look at the moment. I think City could absolutely batter them in this game. So I personally prefer Haaland to Rashford. But Bournemouth at home is an excellent fixture. Rashford is absolutely smashing it at the moment, so I don't hate it. I know my camera's gone, by the way. It's just, it overheats. I've just got to reset it. Give it about a minute maximum. Let me know in the chat. I've just run a poll, but also, as well as answering the poll, what do you think the Arsenal versus Newcastle score will be? Give me a prediction in the chat. If you had to predict the Arsenal-Newcastle game, what do you think the score would be? I think the score... I'm not going to look at the chat. Right, what do I think the score would be? I think... Oh, such a tricky one. It could be goalless. It could be like 4-4. I'm going to go... I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal. I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal, but I think there could equally be tons of goals in this game. It's really interesting. It's one of the most interesting matchups I can remember in recent times as to how I think this could go. Like I said, I could see that being like 5-5, or I could see it being 0-0, to be honest. I've also put a poll in the chat if you want to vote on the poll as well. I've run a poll for an Arsenal win, a Newcastle win, a score draw, or a goalless draw. Most people think it will be an Arsenal win. Over 50% of people are on an Arsenal win. And then 30% are on a score draw. So maybe like a 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, something like that. Start Cancelo or White. I would start Cancelo myself. Chelsea look terrible, and I don't think he'll continue to bench Cancelo every game, personally. I think Cancelo's got to start soon. So I would start Cancelo ahead of White. Tony or Mitrovic. I really like Brentford's 3 games after Liverpool, and Mitrovic would just be a 1-week punt because of a double game week. The only issue we've got is that I think Brentford or Tony had before the 4th of January to respond to the claims of the betting and stuff. I'm pretty sure a ban is impending for him. I don't know the official details and the official date. It just feels like a transfer waiting to happen as well, that Tony's probably going to be have to transfer. I can't see Tony escaping without a ban unless there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Arsenal have a 100% win record at home. They do, but I think Newcastle are a different beast. I think Newcastle have just been so good recently. And they will be right up for this game, Newcastle. Arsenal away, brilliant start to the season. They're going to fancy this. I still think Arsenal will have enough for them. It's just if Arsenal can hold the ball and can contain Newcastle. They need to win the midfield battle, hold the ball. If they can hold possession and nullify Newcastle, that's why I'm going for 1-0. If there's an early goal, for example, if Newcastle score it, I reckon we could see goals left, right and centre. But we'll see. What transfer is better? Perro to Shaw, Wilson to Havertz, Mitrovic, Foden to Mount, or any Arsenal mid? I think Wilson to Havertz or Mitrovic makes sense for me. I know Wilson is probably a decent long-term hold. We've just said that we don't maybe necessarily expect there to be that many goals in this game. and you're getting a player for 2 fixtures, I would probably go Wilson to Mitrovic. But Perro to Shaw is like the safest bet because you're not taking out a good player really in Perro, personally, I don't think. Whereas with Wilson and Foden, you're taking out 2 players that probably really have the potential to hurt you. Ross, would you do Martial to Mitrovic for free? I'm probably doing Martial to Mitrovic for free. So yes, I would do that, Paul. Probably. Hi, Ross. How are you? I'm good, thank you, mate. I have a question. Would you start Castagna or Trippier? I'm currently leaning Trippier myself. I think that both concede. I would be surprised if Newcastle and Leicester don't both concede. But I think Trippier is just better for bonus points and he's got more attacking threat than Castagna. So that's why I'm starting Trippier. Let's have a quick look at that, actually, because I think people are underestimating just how good this man is. If we have a look at Trippier's returns this season for tricky fixtures, he got a 6-pointer against City despite it being 3-3. He got 0 points against Liverpool, so it wasn't great. 6 points against Manchester United. Got 2-pointer against Tottenham. 7 points against Chelsea. And just, if you look at his returns, so he's blanked, how many times has he blanked this season? 1, 2, 3. He's got 7, 7, 6, 2, 0, 8, 5, 7, 7, 6, 9, 2, an 11 and 12 pointer back-to-back, then a 7, 12, 8. So in the last 5 weeks, he's just smashing it, and Newcastle looks so good. So yes, Arsenal are a different opposition to that they've faced recently, but you can just see so many bonus points, attacking returns. I feel like he's in a similar boat to Haaland, where you don't need to think about it too often. Almost every week you will own and captain Haaland. Every week you just play Trippier. Because you wouldn't have predicted some of these 11 and pointers and some of these clean sheets necessarily. I don't think. And like even Fulham away, we knew that was a tricky fixture for him because Fulham score all the time at home. He concedes, but he gets a goal. Oh no, he got the clean sheet when he got subbed off. But you see what I mean? It's very tricky to try and place exactly when these returns will come. So I'm not a fan of benching Trippier too often personally. Another person, Ethan, asking about bench boost again with Pope, Almiron, Cancelo, Patterson. No, not for me. I think firstly, I don't think that's the best bench boost because you've got double Newcastle against Arsenal. Pope probably unlikely to keep a clean sheet. Patterson's okay, but Everton haven't been great. Cancelo, we don't know if he'll start or not. So I'm going to say no to that one, Ethan. I think there are probably better bench boosts. Oh, apologies. Matthew says, hi, Ross. Hello, Matthew. What are your thoughts on doing KDB and Greenwood to Almiron and Mitrovic? KDB and Greenwood to Almiron and Mitrovic. My midfield is Salah, KDB, Rashford, Martinelli, Andreas. I don't mind it, but I also don't like selling KDB ahead of a weak Chelsea team and then a double game week. You've got to remember that unless they've got a replay City or Chelsea in the FA Cup, then City or Spurs, I should say, then City will have the double game week in game week 20. Again, that's not 100% confirmed. It relies on them not having an FA Cup replay. But KDB ahead of a double is just such a good option to keep. So I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I'm not sure how I feel about that one, Matthew. But I do like the idea of bringing in Almiron and Mitrovic for sure. My team this week. Do you want your opinion? Your average target frog. Looks good. I don't see any major issues with it. Captain Rashford's decent. I would captain Andreas personally, but I don't mind that. It looks really strong. Yeah, really strong. I don't see any issues with that. I mean, you don't know Mitrovic, but I guess you hope he just gets booked in the first fixture. Can you do a captain poll? Lots of questions in the chat. Haaland, Havertz, Mount, Mitrovic, Andreas, other. Yes, I can. Let me end that poll now. So I can only do 4 options on the poll, which is slightly frustrating. But let's do a captain poll in the chat because there are tons of questions around captaincy. So I'm going to go single game week player. Mount, Havertz. I've seen a couple of people say Sterling. Mitrovic. Andreas or Almiron, I would start or / bring in Andreas. I think with a double game week, you've got to back him personally. Sorry if your option isn't there, but if you, for example, if you're captain at Kepa or something, apologies, but most people should have that there. Mount, Havertz, Sterling, Mitrovic, Andreas. Cool. If you're enjoying today's stream, just a quick little request that you do like the stream. We're almost at 1,000 likes. And please do subscribe as well. We are fast approaching 57,000 subscribers. So I would massively appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube. It's free. It's free for you to do, but it makes me very happy. So thank you if you do so. Play Cancelo if you had him, Estepinian otherwise. Yeah, I would play Cancelo. I know he's been benched 2 weeks in a row, and I know you risk a cameo with him. I think that Pep will want to put out his strongest team against Chelsea. Cancelo is in his strongest team. And Chelsea just look toothless in attack, like I said, so I could see a clean sheet there. It does worry me slightly that I've got Ederson on the bench. He's just conceded twice. I'm sure this will be the week that Ederson keeps a clean sheet, but we'll see. Start Ward or Ederson? I would genuinely start Ederson. The thing is, though, I suppose with Ward against Fulham, if Leicester keep a clean sheet, that's going to be like a 10 or 11 pointer. Because Fulham takes so many shots. Andreas and Mitrovic in particular. Mitrovic averages like 4 or 5 shots a game. It's been ridiculous. So Ederson more likely to keep a clean sheet, Zodiac, but I think maybe Ward more likely to get a, like I said, a 10 or 11 pointer. So maybe Ward's the one to go for, just because he's got that higher ceiling, I think. Have you got any more information about Manchester United double game weeks? I don't, unfortunately. I think Ben Crellin said 55% chance of a double game week in game week 20, but we won't find that out before this deadline. It will be dependent on FA Cup games. So there's a chance Manchester United get a double game week in 20. I think there's also a small chance of one in 21, if not. So Manchester United in the next couple could have a double game week, yeah. It's one of the reasons I want to hang on to Shaw and Rashford. I'm probably selling Martial. I can always bring Martial back in. Andreas or Mount captain? Oh, it's a tough one. What do you think, chat? Andreas or Mount captain? I guess we can look at the poll whilst we're doing this. I think I prefer Andreas personally, but so single game week is currently on 28%. Mount Havertz Sterling, so any of the Chelsea attackers, is on 14%, so really low there. Mitrovic is on 44%, and Andreas is on 14%. So Mitrovic is the clear captaincy shout if you're captain a doubler according to the chat. Then followed by single game week player, which looking by the chat is mainly Rashford and Haaland. And then Chelsea attacker and Andreas looked fairly close as well. King's Football Show says, hi Ross, hope you are well. Is it worth telling James to Shaw to bench Bueno? I've got Kepa in goal, or do I roll and have 2 free transfers next week? I'd do James to Shaw. I would do it and bench Bueno. I think I'd be happy with that, especially as it's for free. If it was for a hit, I wouldn't do it, but it's for free. Yeah, I'd probably go for it. I think Shaw's got a much better chance for clean sheet than Bueno. And Shaw is someone that you want to own long term anyway, so I don't mind that. Hi, mate. I have both Martial and Wilson up front. Thinking of moving Wilson to Mitrovic and keeping Martial. What do you think? Yeah, I think if I had Wilson and Martial, I would sell Wilson first. Wilson is on penalties, but I think Martial, Bournemouth at home is just such a nice fixture. If you can get away with not selling Martial and still getting Mitro, I think that makes a lot of sense. Hi, Raptor. Do you not have Mitrovic? I'm looking to get Mitrovic in for Martial. So my current planned transfer is Martial to Mitrovic and captain Mitrovic, and then roll the second free transfer. So that would give me Kepa, Andreas, and Mitrovic as my doublers. And the team would look as it is, but with Mitrovic instead of Martial. And it also means that I would have 2 free transfers in game week 20, which could be really useful. A couple of people said I've missed their super chats. I'm very, very sorry. If it's like less than £2 or £3, it doesn't highlight the super chat, and the chat's moving really quickly. So firstly, I massively apologise. I'm not deliberately missing any. Secondly, the chat's just going berserk. So I do really apologise if I've missed any. I think I've got most of them. I'll try and get to some others in a second. Andreas or Mitrovic captain again. Mitrovic looks like the best. I think the yellow cards is a big risk, but the fact that he's on penalties, so it was confirmed by Marco Silva that Mitrovic would continue to be on pens. Whether you think that's a good thing or not is up to you, but Mitrovic has much better data than Andreas, so let's hope he doesn't get booked. I think Mitrovic is the better captain. Obviously, if Mitrovic does get booked, then I think Andreas is a better captain. So it really depends on how well behaved you think Mitro will be. Is Azpilicueta pretty now? Cheap option for James. Azpilicueta is nailed as long as James is injured and as long as Chelsea stay in a back four. I don't think there are many other players that can play right back, but I still think he'll miss the odd game. I still do think that. If they switch to a back five, I think he's a much bigger risk because they can play pretty much anyone at right wing back, and then they've got a decent amount of centre backs. They're signing a new centre back as well, so. Bench Darwin. Sorry, I got already itchy. Itchy moustache. Bench Darwin or Martinelli, or sell Martial Darwin for Mitrovic. I wouldn't bench Darwin. I would bench Martinelli instead of Darwin. I'm leaning towards selling Martial for Mitrovic. As you can tell, I'm not going to sell Darwin anytime soon. I just sell him if you want to. Like, you don't have to tell me he's a bad option. There's no way that I'm selling someone that's getting that quality level of chances. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of chances that man is accumulating. So for me, I'm not going to be doing that myself. Love your channel, Ross. Can't decide firstly, thank you for saying you love the channel. Can't decide if I want to start Stones or Trippier. Arsenal surely score at home with the current form. Stones or Trippier? I just think with Stones, yes, he could score a header, but you're probably looking at 6 points if he keeps a clean sheet. Trippier is just I would start Trippier ahead of most players, to be honest. Maybe Luke Shaw, the only one in my team that I wouldn't, but I personally still prefer Trippier to Stones. But again, I understand why. Maybe, I would say probably quite comfortably, actually, City more likely to keep a clean sheet. So clean sheet more likely for Stones. A huge score probably more likely for Trippier. Ross, what's your thought process on not putting Haaland as captain, apart from it being a double game week for Fulham? That's pretty much the only thought process. As I said, if I'm captaining a single game week player, I would captain Haaland. But in a double game week, 180 minutes of Mitrovic's data against two decent oppositions is better than 70 to 80 minutes of Haaland's data. It is. So if you think Mitrovic will avoid a booking in the first, the odds, the underlying data, whatever you want to look at, would suggest that Mitrovic will be more likely to get you returns. So that's the reasoning for that. Obviously, if Mitrovic does get booked, then it's a big mistake, but it's a risk you need to take. I think someone's worked out the odds of Mitrovic getting booked in the first game, and I think it's 15 to 20% based on like fouls that he's made, based on the amount of, I think the amount of yellow cards the ref gave. I saw someone put a tweet out. It looks like 15 to 20%. So you've got like about a 1 in 5 chance of Mitrovic getting booked if you want to buy into those odds. But yeah, if you want to captain Haaland, go for it. 15 to 20% is fairly high. It is. It's higher than you would want it to be fair. I've also seen someone said that the referee that is refereeing the Fulham game, it's his first Premier League game that he's reffed. He's only just come up from the Championship, and apparently he gives out loads of yellow cards. Something like 4 or 5 on average in the Championship per game. So he's a referee that likes a yellow card, which does worry me slightly, but we'll see what happens. We can laugh. We can laugh together. If you captain Mitrovic with me, which looks likely what I'll be doing, then we can laugh together at the fact that Mitrovic gets booked in the first one. Hey, Ross, hope you're doing well. Good to see you, Polkit. Thank you for being here. I have Darwin, Haaland, and Havertz. Should I then ignore Mitrovic? Apologies. Or go for it, Darwin to Mitro? I would ignore Mitrovic, yeah. I would ignore Mitrovic and I would captain Havertz, probably. Unless you want to captain Haaland. But yeah, in your position, I'd captain Havertz. I think Mitrovic and Havertz are the best 2 captaincy options this week, closely followed by Andreas. I'm not sure on Mason Mount. The reason I like Havertz is he's playing as the number 9. I liked his positioning a lot more than Mason Mount's. I haven't watched tons of Chelsea, but against Forest, Mount was very deep very often. He does arrive on the edge of the box really well, almost like a Lampard, Gerrard-esque run. But outside of that, his general positioning is very deep, Mount. He is on set pieces, which is nice, or some set pieces, but I think I prefer Havertz to Mount. Start Ben White or John Stones. Oh, that's a tricky one. Just because it's at home, I'd probably just lean Ben White. Neither of them have a great amount of attacking threat. John Stone's probably slightly better from corners. If you look at the odds, City are more likely to keep a clean sheet than Arsenal, but I think Ben White, because he's at home, would be my way I would lean. Ian says, Happy New Year, mate. Happy New Year, Ian. Thank you very much, my man, for the donation. Ross, why not James to Cucurella and bench White? I don't think Chelsea will keep a clean sheet. It's as simple as that. Fulham scoring every home game. City are City. It doesn't look great defensively for Chelsea. And I don't really want Cucurella long term anyway. So I think what I'm going to probably do is next week or the week after, I'll probably do James to Botman or someone like that. Or maybe James to Dunk. I'll do James down to a cheaper defender. And then I'll be happy with my team long term. Or maybe I'll move James up to Trent or James up to someone like that if I want to upgrade. But for now, I don't really want a Chelsea defender. Thoughts on benching Foden? I don't love it, but let's hope he's benched again, I guess. Let's hope he's benched again. I like your team, but why don't you have Mitrovic? I'm going to probably get Mitrovic. The reason I haven't confirmed the Mitrovic transfer is, number one, I'm not like 100% sure I want to do it. But number two, let me just double check before I say something stupid. Liverpool are the 5:30 game today. If we get randomly news, it's not going to happen. I'm almost certain. But if we get news that Darwin's benched or Darwin or Salah are injured, I'll regret moving early. So I'm hoping that in the next kind of, I don't know, what's the time? It's almost 3 o'clock. Deadline at 4. Maybe in the next half an hour, if we get any news around Liverpool, that might change it. Because if Darwin is benched or injured, there's no news that I think that would be the case. But if we randomly got news, I would keep Martial and I'd sell Darwin for Mitrovic. So I'm just kind of waiting just in case. But yeah, the current plan, if you've just joined the stream, is Martial to Mitrovic captain and roll the second free transfer. That's the current plan. Isn't the lineup out for Liverpool already? Is it? There you go. I've been streaming. I don't know. I got told that Simicast was starting, but I haven't seen anything else. Can one of the moderators tell me who's tweeted the Liverpool team? What account has tweeted the Liverpool team? Someone tell me. Oh, Paddy leaked it. Okay, cool. 2 seconds. I'll just get the tweet and I'll link it in the chat. Sorry, I've been streaming, so I didn't see that the lineup's already out. Oh, here we go. It was only tweeted 3 minutes ago. The leaked Liverpool lineup I've been sent is as follows. Alisson, Trent. Do you know what? Let me get it up on here. If I switch over to that. Sorry, trying to switch everything on the right screen at the right time. I don't know why he's uploaded it with that picture. But Alisson, Trent, Canate, Van Dijk, Simicast, Elliott, Fabinho, Thiago, Salah, Nunez, and Chamberlain. I wasn't expecting Salah or Nunez to miss out. I guess I was just waiting just in case. But yeah, if you own Robertson, I guess you can sell/bench because it looks like Simicast's going to start. That was the news that I was given as well by a couple of sources, but no one I fully trust. But I do trust Paddy. So there we go. Also, to the 5,000 odd people that are in the chat right now, make sure to follow me over on Twitter. I'm just going to spam my Twitter. Make sure to follow me over on Twitter. That's where I tweet all of my thoughts throughout the week. Constantly tweeting there. So make sure to follow me over on Twitter as well. Bang, bang. Ben White is my only Arsenal asset. Should I sell Foden to get an Arsenal midfielder this week? If yes, would you go with Martinelli or Odegaard? I don't think you need to do it this week, but yes, I would get at least one Arsenal attacker in. I would be going with Odegaard at the moment. So Odegaard and doesn't need to be this week. If I can afford Sterling instead of Mount, is it a good move? And should I captain him instead of Mitrovic? If not, what do you suggest? I probably do prefer Sterling to Mount, but Sterling limits you long term. So if your plan was always to sell the Chelsea midfielder this week anyway, or sorry, next week, then go for Sterling. But if your plan was to keep the Chelsea midfielder that you go for, Mount is going to limit you less. I would prefer to captain Mitrovic to both of them personally. Start Foden or Almiron. I'd probably take a risk on Foden starting, just. But that's so close. The thing is, like I said, if Foden starts, I probably prefer Foden to Martinelli as well. But I just don't know if Foden's going to start. And it makes it so tricky. Are you getting Mitrovic? Yeah, probably. What are your moves? My moves probably Martial to Mitrovic. Trossard or Martinelli? That's a really tough one. The fixture's better for Trossard. I prefer Martinelli as an option. I'd go Martinelli. I assume it's who to start. That's the question. Start Martinelli or Martial? I'd prefer to start Martial myself. My defence is currently Cancelo, White, and Trippier. Subs Bueno and James. Should I bring in Shaw for James and bench who? Or just roll the transfer? My defence is currently Cancelo, White, and Trippier. I don't think you need to this week, but I do think Shaw is a long-term option that's good anyway. So I would probably say yes, and I'd bench White. So yeah, Shaw to James is fine. I'd bench White. But you don't need to do it this week, because I think your 3 defenders are okay. So we've currently got just over an hour until the deadline. Just under an hour, I should say, until the deadline. So plenty of time, but do start to think about locking your teams in. What are you planning to do with James? I'm going to keep him third sub this week. I don't need him this week. And then I'm probably looking to move him on probably in game week 20. If we get a double game week announced, it will be probably for a double game week player in 20 or 21. If we don't get a double game week player announced, then it will a double game week announced, then it will probably be for someone like Botman. Ross, you missed my super chat. Do I sell KDB or Salah for funds to bring in Mitrovic and Mount and Sterling? I wouldn't sell KDB or Salah for funds, no. I would just ignore the doublers and just captain Haaland probably. Keep slash sell, not kill. Keep slash sell Kulusevski. If sell, thoughts on Barnes, Rodrigo, or go Arsenal, captain Salah. I would probably sell, and I'd probably go Ødegaard. I think Ødegaard's probably the player to bring in at the moment if you're going for a single game week player and you're ignoring the doubles. Start Trossard or Martial, Sophie says. Oh, that's a tough one. I feel like Trossard's got a higher ceiling because he's a midfielder. Like, forwards have to do a lot more than midfielders to get those, like, mega hauls. But I do prefer the fixture for Martial. I would start Martial, bench Trossard, but that's a really tricky one. Who do I bench for Mitrovic out of Martial, Martinelli, Rashford, or Andreas? Oh, that's a tricky one as well. I'd bench Martinelli because I just think that the fixture's too good for Martial and Rashford to bench them. Personally. But Martinelli is just so good, isn't he? Martinelli being as good as he is probably the major reason I'm not selling Foden to Mount. Because if I do Foden to Mount, I think I have to bench Martinelli, and I don't want to do that. He's just so good. Arsenal are just so good, which again is frustrating. Should I bring in Mount for Trossard? I'm not convinced he's a much better option this week, but you can if you want to. Would you downgrade Reece James for Cucurella if you needed funds for Mitrovic? Yeah, if you wanted to do that, I think that's fine. I would be tempted by just downgrading James to someone like a Botman, like I said, because I don't think you're going to want Cucurella long term, and I don't think the double game week's great anyway. So it's up to you. Do you think Mitrovic is essential? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I do think he's the best captain. And something that I've always said to you guys, and I always try and give you the best advice possible, and I sometimes never take it, is I do think that it's incredibly important to bring in the best captaincy option every week, if you can. And if you think someone is the best captaincy option and you can get them relatively easily, that's like bringing in 2 good players because you're captaining them twice. And when I looked at my team, I don't want to captain a single game week player because in a double game week, I'd prefer to back a doubler. The only doubler that I have is Andreas outside of Kepa, and I'm still not fully comfortable captaining Andreas. So bringing in Mitrovic gives me the best captaincy option. That's why I want to do it. But I don't think he's essential at all. Hey, Ross, think you missed my super chat twice. Crazy busy. I'm sorry if I have. Kepa for double or De Gea against Bournemouth at home? Kepa for the double or De Gea against Bournemouth at home? I think you've got to back Kepa. Because if he keeps a clean sheet in either of them, he'll probably make a lot of saves. Plus appearance points and saves in the second one. I think you're probably looking at, if he keeps a clean sheet of a minimum 10 points, De Gea would do well to beat that. But I would say De Gea's more likely to keep it clean. Kepa's more likely to get like a monster score. So I would back Kepa, probably. How do West Ham's fixtures look? They're not bad for the next few. You could bring in a West Ham player, but I'm still not fully convinced by West Ham. We could see Moyes sacked soon as well, which would change the outlook on how the team play. Ross. Who to bench for Andreas, Saka, Martinelli, Martial? I'd bench Martinelli, but I don't think that's an easy decision, Lee, at all. If you think Mitrovic is the best captain, then logically, should I transfer Havertz to Mitrovic? I think Havertz is arguably the second best captain, so no, I don't think you need to do that. I really like Havertz for this week. A lot of people looking at Rashford captain. A lot of people interested in Rashford captain. I don't mind it. Listen, I'm a Manchester United fan that absolutely loves Marcus Rashford. So if you tell me you want to captain Marcus Rashford against Bournemouth at home, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I don't mind it at all. He looks really, really good. I expect him to start after the little interdisciplinary issue that he had, which was basically oversleeping for a meeting. Apologies for the sniffing. I feel like I'm getting ill again. I've got 2 free transfers. Not feeling the Martial to Mitrovic move and don't want to burn a transfer. So I'm considering moving on James. Who would you pick as a James replacement for the long term? I still think the best options are Shaw, Arsenal defender, maybe Dunk, and then Botman. I would take the money out of the defence. There are so many good attackers at the moment that we're probably going to want. And I don't like any of the premium defenders. So I would be removing money and going for Shaw or an Arsenal defender. But if you've already got an Arsenal defender and you've already got Shaw, then probably Botman/Dunk. Am I crazy for wanting to start Pero over Trippier alongside Cancelo and Shaw? The fixture's better, obviously, but I wouldn't. I'd personally start Trippier, to be honest. What do you guys think? What do you value more in FPL? Do you value form more? And by form, I mean if the player's playing well and the team's playing well, or do you value fixtures more? Let me know. So if, for example, like let's say you've got Trippier against Arsenal away, or let's say hypothetically I had Castagna against Bournemouth at home. Do you prefer Castagna against Bournemouth at home because he's got a much better fixture? Or would you prefer Trippier against Arsenal away because he's got the form and the better data? I mean, the correct answer is both. I think that is absolutely the correct answer. But if you had to favour one, what are you leaning towards more? I think I tend to be a fixtures guy. I think I prefer fixtures to form or to data slightly. But I can see here, like I'm starting Trippier instead of Castagna, and arguably Castagna's got a slightly better fixture. I'm starting Ben White instead of Castagna, and again, arguably Castagna has a slightly better fixture. Matthew has been a member for 14 months. Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate you. I don't know if you meant to attach a message, but I'll look out for your name. I have Almiron on the bench. Should I play him instead of Almiron, Salah, Mount, or Rashford, or none? I don't know if it was meant to say instead of like Martinelli. I think I would still bench Almiron out of those options there. Have him first sub. You might end up needing him. Most people, if you have Andreas and Almiron in your team, most people are probably benching Almiron this week. I would expect to see Almiron's percentage ownership a lot lower this week, just because I think he will be benched by a few people. So I don't think it's the end of the world if you need to bench Almiron this week. Bench Saka to play Andreas, Mount, KDB and Rashford. Going to captain Mitro and pray. Good to see you back. You missed my first super chat. Very sorry, Alex, firstly. Yeah, I think you... I hate benching Saka. But yeah, you probably do from the options you've given me. You can't bench Andreas and Mount. You wouldn't want to bench KDB. Rashford's got a better fixture. I hate benching Saka, Alex, but yeah, you probably do have to. Most people saying a mixture of both, but I think form actually got a lot more love than I thought there, which is good. I think you need to take into account form or data as well. Whatever you want to call form. I don't even know what form is, to be honest. It's difficult to sort of conceptualize what form is. Who to bench, Almiron or Martinelli? Do you know what? I'm going to quickly run that poll because that is just getting asked repeatedly and I want to know what everyone else thinks. KDB or Almiron? What, to start? I would start KDB all day. Right, I've just run a poll in the chat. Who would you start? The question is who would you start, not who would you bench. Who would you start out of Martinelli and Almiron? Because loads of people are asking that question. So there you go. There's that poll in the chat. Nate Davies has just become a Raptier X Platinum member. Thank you very much. I think you're only the second or third Raptier X member. So thank you very much, Nate. I appreciate you very, very much. Make sure to join the Discord as well. But thank you for becoming a member. Andreas or Mitrovic captain? I prefer Mitrovic slightly. Add Saka to the poll as well. No, I don't want to add Saka to the poll. It's going to start getting crazy if I add loads of players to the poll. Martinelli is absolutely dominating that poll. Wow, I didn't expect it to be that dominant. Almiron or Foden? Yeah, it's a tricky one again. I'd probably back Foden and hope he starts, but I would if it was me, I would probably say Martinelli, Foden, Almiron, but I think it's very close. If you worry that Foden's not gonna start, then just start Almiron. Does anyone have the odds on Rashford oversleeping again? I think that's a one-off. Don't think he'll be doing that again. As I said, if you are enjoying the stream today, please do drop a like on the stream. Make sure to subscribe as well. How many subscribers away from 57,000 are we? We're only 140 subscribers. If you're one of the 140 odd people in it that haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Only 140 subscribers. And as soon as we hit 57,000, I'll stop asking you to subscribe in this stream. So the quicker we do that, the quicker I'll stop asking. The question regarding form versus fixtures is interesting. I'm neither. I'm in the camp of caliber of player. You are a coach, though, so that makes sense. But yeah, I like that. Maybe you just pick the better player wherever you can. This channel deserves more than 50k subs. Thank you, Beardy. I appreciate that. We're getting there. We're getting there. We'll do it. Are you sticking to Andreas as captain, or are you not 100% sure? I'm captaining Mitrovic, I think. I have 3 Newcastle players. Should I bench White or Foden? Maybe if you're backing a Newcastle win, just bench White then, yeah. And just hope that Newcastle batter Arsenal. After this game week, should we be selling Mitrovic for Martial or Darwin? I think after this week, we'll see what happens with the doubles. Hopefully we're going to get some double announcements. I'm not going to plan too far ahead because I think it's massively dependent on double game week announcements. Yeah, if Manchester United get a double in 20 or 21, then I'll probably go back to Martial. Otherwise, I might be looking at some other players. If Arsenal get a double, I might go for like Nketiah up top for Mitrovic. If you don't bring in Mitrovic, what's your alternative? Burn the transfer or James replacement? It would probably be James to Botman if I don't bring in... But I'm probably going to bring in Mitrovic for Martial. I'm like 95% sure. But yeah, it would probably be Botman for James and bench Botman. So my starting 11 would stay identical. And I'd captain Andreas. Who are you subbing Mitrovic in for? It'd be Martial. Nketiah or Almiron on the bench. I'm going to back the Arsenal attackers ahead of Almiron just because it's at home. And like I said, Arsenal are a better attack than Newcastle. So I am just about backing the likes of Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka and Nketiah over Almiron. This isn't to say Almiron's not a good option. And if you need to start him this week, I'd have no issue. I think he's virtually fixture-proof. But considering we've got such good attacks at the moment, if you need to bench one, I'd bench Almiron. And if you look at the poll, I'll end the poll there. 89% of you, or it's just gone to 88% of you, think that Martinelli should be started ahead of Almiron. So it's pretty convincing. Pretty convincing. Almiron or Trossard? I'd still probably bench Almiron and play Trossard, interestingly. Any opinions on Dalot, Ross? I don't think he'll quite be back for 19. I think he'll be back for 20, though. The issue is Wan-Bissaka's been playing very, very well. But I still think Dalot is first choice right back. I like him. I think the safest option for now is Shaw, just because we don't know how far Dalot is from away from playing, and because Wan-Bissaka, I think, has been better than Malacia. So I think Shaw is probably slightly more nailed on at the moment. When Dalot's back and starting, Dalot has better attacking potential, though, than Shaw for me. Dalot's attacking data before the World Cup was absolutely exceptional. He's creating chances left, right, and centre. So I prefer Dalot, but for now, I probably prefer Shaw just due to the uncertainty. Andreas for a -4. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think so. Let's run another poll. Hopefully do you guys enjoy me running polls? I won't run polls if you guys don't enjoy me running polls. I think it's interesting to see what the chat in general are thinking. Let's run a poll for... Okay, everyone likes the polls. That's good. That's good. I was waiting for everyone in the chat to just say, no, we hate the polls and we hate you as well. I just want to see how many of you are taking hits, how many of you are rolling your transfers. So I've just put a poll in the chat. It will be roll transfer, free transfer, or free transfers, -4 hit, or -8 hit. If you are using a free transfer and rolling a transfer, feel free to vote for whichever one you want. For example, if you've got 2 transfers, I'm going to technically use a free transfer and roll a free transfer, but you can do whatever you want. Make a poll asking if we like the polls. That is Pollception. You are so fit, Ross. You're fit, Sam. Thank you for saying I'm fit. We've got Swagbag has just become a member. Thank you very much, Swagbag. I appreciate you very much. Welcome to the Raptier family. Start Darwin or Martinelli. I already have Salah. Well, I don't think having Salah should impact your decision, Sean. I would start Darwin. Would you sell Salah for Erdegaard? I would definitely not do that, personally. Love a poll. Do love a good lamppost as well. I bet you love a poll, Frosty. Bet you do. Martial to Mitrovic captain and Almiron to Martinelli. I don't think you need to make the Almiron to Martinelli move, but Martial to Mitrovic captain sounds good. That's what I'm currently planning. Is this your final team? It is not, but it's pretty much my final team. Play Ward or Edison. I said that's a close one. I said Edison's more likely to keep a clean sheet, but I think Ward has a higher ceiling. So I think if you're going for the big score, probably Ward. But if you're going for the safer bet, Edison. But they just seem to concede left, right, and centre. I don't know why City can't keep a clean sheet recently. It's quite frustrating. If no second attacking transfer for Mount, would you then do James to Shaw? Otherwise, my defence is Cancelo with 2 of Trippier, Perro, and Patterson. I don't think that's an issue. I think Cancelo, Trippier, and either Perro or Patterson is fine, Dave. But yeah, you could do Shaw if you want to. Is there any competition between new content creators when it comes to live streaming? You're getting closer to Let's Talk FPL. There's no competition. Well, I guess we are competing for views. We're all streaming at the same time. Some of us have different strengths. Like my big strength is my live streams. That's the thing that gets the most subscribers. I get quite a few views. Whereas someone like Oscar, I would say that Oscar's strength is his videos. Like Oscar's videos are exceptional. So I guess, yeah, we are competing, but I'm friends with every single big content creator that does streaming. So we compete, I guess, but it's not really like we're not angry with each other or anything. Right, I think I'm going to make my transfer just because everyone keeps asking what I'm going to do. So I think it's just best to just do it so that people can just see what I've done. Call him Focal Oscar so people don't go over to his channel, cheeky. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't do that, should I? Yeah, FPL Focal. Go to his channel if you want to. Planning Tony to Mitrovic and James to Shaw. Okay? But think United's fixtures in 20 and 21 are quite difficult, and I'm not sure if I can go Mitro captain over Haaland. What are your thoughts? Also, do you think fear of Tony ban is overblown? Firstly, I don't think you need to do Tony to Mitro if you're not captaining Mitro. I think the value in going for Mitrovic is in captaining him. If you're going to captain Haaland anyway, you don't necessarily need to do that. I don't think the Tony ban is overblown. I think there's a very good chance he gets banned, unless, like I said, something's gone on behind the scenes that we don't realise, that it's not as severe as it looked. But wasn't it something like over 200 or 300 games he bet on? So it looks quite likely that a ban's coming. But again, we don't know that for sure. Are you making 1 or 2 transfers? I'm currently just planning on using 1, to be honest. Kane or Darwin to Mitrovic. Crazy to captain Haaland. I wouldn't sell Kane or Darwin for Mitrovic, but no, I don't think it's crazy to captain Haaland if you don't want to. Right. Let's go. Right, chat, as always, you've got 30 to 45 seconds to convince me not to make this transfer. Martial to Mitrovic. You've got up to a minute max to convince me not to make the transfer. Otherwise, Martial is getting transferred for Mitrovic, and I'm captaining Mitrovic. Go. Martial has a better fixture. He absolutely does. Mitrovic got a yellow card in training. Avoid. Well, that would be upsetting. Yellow cards. Everyone's just shouting yellow cards at me. You're not convincing me. Long-term bad. Yeah, it's a trap. But think about how funny it will be when Mitrovic almost definitely gets booked in the first fixture. It will be fun. Listen, can you imagine how exciting Twitter's going to be? I'll mock myself. It'll all be very funny. And when Martial scores, I'll still be happy because I'm a Manchester United fan. So no one's convinced me. Right. Martial out, Mitrovic in. Confirm transfers. I want to get Mitrovic over on the same side as Andreas because I've got a little bit of OCD. You know how it is. There we go. Then let's captain Mitrovic. I will put the vice on Andreas and I will save my team. That does mean, though, chat, I do still have 1 free transfer to use, right? Because I had 2 free transfers. I've only used the 1 to do Martial to Mitro. Do I use the second? I could, like I said, let me just go back to my team 2 seconds. I could still bench Martinelli for Foden. And I could bring in Mason Mount for Foden. That would give me 4 double game week players. But like I said, the reason I'm not as big of a fan of that as I was is Martinelli is exceptionally good, despite it being a difficult fixture. Foden does have a double game week next week, and Chelsea stink. So apologies if you're a Chelsea fan, I do apologise, but Chelsea do stink at the moment. So I don't think that's necessarily a desperate move I need to do. And this would mean I've got, again, which I love, I would be rolling a transfer once again, and I would have 2 free transfers going into game week 20. And like I said, there's a good chance that we'll get some double game week announcements before game week 20. Not necessarily for game week 20, but for game week 21 potentially. So if we do get some double game week announcements, I'll be delighted that I have 2 free transfers. 100% roll the second to allow you to react to future double game week news. I'm keeping Martial and not going for Mitro and then doing Martial to Wilson next week. I like that plan, Zodiac. Sounds good. Vice captain Rashford. I think I'd rather vice captain a doubler. The other option I have, just to talk you through all of my options. Did I answer that question? Yeah, I answered that question. Some people saying don't captain Mitrovic. Yelena says, whoa, hold up. Martial is getting in the bin. Now I'm tempted. You should be tempted. I thought you was going to bench Martial, though. Bench Martial, and then if Martial scores, then we're both sad together, at least. Would you do Darwin to Mitrovic? I've said I don't like selling Darwin personally. I don't like selling Martial either, but I really don't like selling Darwin. If you are one of the 5,200 people watching and you've not yet subscribed, what are you doing? Like, why not? Just subscribe. Just subscribe to the channel. We are currently 21 subscribers away from 57,000. So just, you know, just subscribe. I don't even need to convince you why. Just do it. Just do it. Would you start Almiron or Castagna? I'd probably back Almiron, to be fair there. I tend to back the attackers unless they've got a shocking fixture or unless it's a really good defender. Thoughts on Luca Dean? Yeah, I said I like the Villa defence. I think they're fine. But as I said, when you've got the likes of Ben White, Shaw, Botman, there are others as well, Lewis Dunk, they're similar-ish price to the Villa defence, but just they're better defenders, playing in better teams. So, Foden to Ødegaard. Yep, I know a couple of people that have done Phil Foden to Ødegaard. I don't mind that at all. I think that's a really nice long-term transfer. Maybe not the best for this specific week, but there you go. I will subscribe when you answer my questions. The funny thing is, you can only comment in the chat if you've subscribed. So I know you've already subscribed. So you've lost that battle there. What is FPL? You don't want to know. You don't want to know. It'll ruin your life. If Darwin doesn't haul today, he's out. I just want to see Darwin take a chance really well. I don't mind if Darwin only scores 1 this week. I just want to see Darwin on a one-on-one dispatch a chance confidently. That will give me everything I need to keep him for the foreseeable future. I'm just fed up of seeing Darwin through on goal and missing. It's so frustrating. But he's at least getting the chances, like I said. Sorry, I got distracted. The other thing that I said, like I said, I could do is I could actually replace James with someone decent this week, and then I could bench boost Ederson, Foden, Castagna, and White. I just prefer keeping a bench boost for the doubles, so I'm less convinced by that. I think the team's looking really good. Double Manchester United, double Liverpool, double Arsenal, double Fulham for the double. Double Fulham, double. I'm saying the word double a lot, Jesus. Trippier and Kepa for the double. So the team's looking fairly strong. I just think I'll have quite a few points on my bench. And the only other last-minute decision is I still need to try and think if I want to play Castagna ahead of Ben White. Because I do still think Castagna is a really nice option for this week. Oh, God, I'm missing so many super chats, aren't I? If you had Bruno, would you captain him over Mitrovic? Nope. I think Mitrovic is the best captain in the game. That's why I've brought him in. So I will always answer to captain Mitrovic. Jay, hello, matey. I've got a midfield of Saka, Rashford, Salah, and Andreas with Almiron on the bench. Should I be playing Almiron? Cheers, pal. Got a midfield of Saka, Rashford, Salah, Andreas with Almiron on the bench. No, I don't think so. I think Almiron's the one you've got to bench. I know it sucks benching Almiron because he's so fantastic, but in most people's teams, with the attackers that they've got, most people, if they're bringing Andreas in, it probably is Almiron to bench. What's your opinion on Watkins and Villa's fixtures? Ollie Watkins has been exceptionally good recently, hasn't he? I don't mind him, but I still think there are better attackers to bring in. Villa's fixtures are very, very decent over the next 2. Is it Wolves at home and then Leeds at home? I don't mind Villa. I would go Martial to Mitrovic rather than Darwin, but that's just my opinion. I don't want to sell Darwin. I think Darwin is going to come good soon at some point. Castagna or Gabriel? I'm leaning towards starting White at the moment, so I would lean towards starting Gabriel ahead of Castagna, but I think it's relatively close. Would you do James? I lost that one. There are so many things to respond to. Don't read Discord. You'll be depressed by how many you've missed. I'm doing shockingly today. Greenwood to Mitro, Kulu to Andreas. What would you think? Yeah, I like that, Nicola. James to Shaw. Yeah, James to Shaw is one of the more straightforward transfers if you don't own Luke Shaw, I think. Which one would you bench? KDB, Darwin, Rashford, or Martinelli? Who would you bench? KDB, Darwin, Martinelli, just Luke. But I don't like benching any of those 4. But I think KDB and Darwin are too good. I think their data's just too strong to bench either of them. And I think Rashford's got Bournemouth at home. So there we go. Ollie Watkins is a dollar store Darwin. Yeah, he gets a lot of chances and doesn't really finish many of them. So, yeah, I agree. You're so smart, Ross. Who would you start out of Cancelo, Foden, or White? I've just realised starting a message with a compliment, it draws my eye to that message. I'm not asking. Oh, for God's sake, my camera's gone. I'm not asking everyone to compliment me. By the way, I'm just saying that was quite a clever way to do it. Who would I start? I would actually probably start Cancelo there because I think he's actually going to start this game. Sorry, my camera's gone. I will be back soon. Start Foden or Almiron? I would just about lean towards Foden. Sorry, I'm cracking up. I just looked down at the chat again and it's just full up with people complimenting me. I love your hair. Can you recommend a defender for Reece James, please? You love my hair. Thank you. I grew it all myself. It's homegrown hair. Reece James' replacement is, you've already got Shaw, Trippier, White and Patterson. Probably Botman or Dunk, I think, long term. You could go for a Chelsea You could go for a Chelsea defender if you want to. Right. Your hat is lovely. Darwin to Mitro for a -4. I don't like selling Darwin at all, especially for a -4, so I would say no. God, these comments make me laugh. I've got cramp in my leg. All of these compliments made you turn off the camera. I've gone just bright red with all of the compliments. That's why I've turned off the camera. God, the chat. I like your nose. Start Bueno or White. I don't like my nose. I would start Ben White. I don't know what's happening with Tony's ban. I don't know what's happening with Tony's injury. If you want to keep Tony, he's looked brilliant and Liverpool have looked really shaky at the back. I don't know if he's fit enough to start and I don't know if he's going to be banned or not. I'm really sorry. I wish I knew the answer to both for you, but if you don't want to risk it and you don't have Mitrovic, I think Tony to Mitrovic looks like a fairly straightforward transfer. Shaw or Botman? I prefer Luke Shaw, but Botman's got more consistent fixtures. Shaw's obviously got a really tricky fixture in 20 and 21, whereas Newcastle just consistently have pretty decent fixtures. I like your bald shine. I'm getting a bit of a shiny bit here, aren't I? A shiny semicircle. This is turning into like post-deadline stream chat. I need to concentrate. We've got 30 minutes till the deadline, by the way. 30 minutes. I like your shoes. KD, I haven't got shoes on. KDB or for Sterling or Mount. I know a lot of people are interested in Sterling. His data's always been pretty good, but he just doesn't look all that. He hasn't looked all that for a while, has he? I think Sterling's a slightly better option than Mount, but he's probably not worth the extra money. So there we go. I also think Mount's probably slightly more nailed than Sterling. Varane or Dunk? I don't mind Varane. He's been very, very good, but I prefer Shaw and Dalot when they're both playing. Obviously, Shaw's the best option now, and when Dallow's back, I probably prefer him to Varane. So I don't mind Varane, but there you go. Marry my sister, please. Mount Mitrovic or Andreas captain. As long as your sister is of age, I will happily marry your sister. Mount Mitrovic or Andreas captain. Let's say Mitrovic is definitely the best captain in my opinion. I think Mount and Andreas is extremely close. I think that's basically a 50-50. But for me, Mitrovic is the best captain. I will keep confirming though. Only captain Mitrovic if you are willing to take the risk of the booking. If he gets booked against Leicester, he misses the Chelsea game. So he is a suspension risk. But I think if you ignore that, but if you accept that part of the risk, then I do believe Mitro is the best captain. By the way, thank you very much for 57,000 subscribers. We've absolutely smashed past that, so thank you. Please check your Twitter messages. Why? What have I been sent on Twitter? Oh, I've just seen a Twitter message. I'm not regularly looking at Twitter messages though, so because I get too many, way too many. Sell Foden for Mount, sell Martial for Mitrovic. That was going to be what I did, but I've decided not to sell Foden for Mount and just do the Martial to Mitrovic move. Your ears are insane. Do you like Darwin? Yeah, I do like Darwin, and thank you for complimenting my ears. I don't have any like bone in my ear. Like, is it cartilage? What's it? Whatever it's called. Look, you can bend my ear anyway. That might freak people out. Please don't click off the stream. But I can bend my ear. I can do whatever you can do whatever you want to my ear. It just doesn't have anything in it. Anyway, let's go back to talking about FPL. Are you using your second transfer this week? I'm 95% sure I'm not. I think I'm going to roll and then go into game week 20 with 2 because, as I said, there's a small chance that we get a game week 20 or game week 21 double game week announced, in which case I'll have 2 transfers to respond to that. And I don't think this is a great double. So I'm hoping that we get some double game week news before the next deadline. If not, I may just roll a transfer again. So I think the idea is to try and have 2 transfers ready to respond to any double game week news. And I'll just keep rolling that second one until we get some confirmation. Foden and Solanke out, Mitrovic and Andreas in. Yeah, that sounds like a good set of moves. I don't know about for a -4, but I guess you're getting 2 extra fixtures there, so probably worth it. For James replacement, Varane for a 1-week double up with Shaw, Estepinian/Dunk with good fixtures and potential double, or Botman for Newcastle double up. I don't think you should do a 1-week double up. I think if you're bringing in Varane, you keep Varane. But I think Botman and Dunk are really nice long term. I don't mind Estepinian. The thing is, when McAllister's back, Matoma could drop back into like left wing back, which takes up obviously some of Estepinian's minutes. So I don't mind Estepinian, but I think Dunk's more now. So I would probably say Dunk or Botman are slightly better options. Aren't all ears like that? No, a lot of people have ears like they don't bend that much. My ears are very flop. Anyway, we're not going to talk about ears. Your bone structure is really beautiful. Mitrovic or Haaland or Mount or Salah captain. I would go Mitro, Mount, Haaland, Salah. I'm a bit of a sucker for a double game week. I'm not necessarily saying that's the way you should play or that's the best way to play, but I'm a sucker for a double. Any opportunity to get an extra fixture, I prefer that. Can we consider a double as players minus as a free if he's in the 11 lineup? You can consider it as a 2-point hit rather than a 4-point, right? Because you get the extra 2 appearance points. So I think you can consider it as a 2-point hit, but then of course you've still got to outscore the player that you're taking out by 2 points. But yeah, it just due to appearance points, it does reduce the impact of the hit, I suppose you could say. What are your thoughts on game week 20? Not a lot for now because I'm hoping we get maybe a double game week with Manchester United. There's a small possibility. But my team doesn't look great for game week 20. That's another reason that I want 2 free transfers because there's a bit of a break between 19 and 20. And I also think there's a small chance for double. So I've not got many thoughts at the moment. And let's just see what happens in 19 and let's see if we get any announcements for 20. Wouldn't Mitrovic serve his ban in the cup? No. So Premier League players don't serve yellow card suspensions in domestic cups. They only serve red card suspensions. So if Mitrovic picks up 2 yellow cards against Leicester and gets sent off, he'll miss the cup game. If he picks up 1 yellow card, he'll miss the Chelsea game, which is strange, I know. Start Botman or Patterson or take a -4. I would probably start Patterson. I wouldn't take a -4. Is Castagna a good James replacement if you already have the template ones, or is Dunk a better option? I probably prefer Dunk slightly. I don't mind Castagna. I own him, but Leicester haven't looked great since the restart, so yeah. Hey, mate, should I start Patterson or Bueno? I would just about lean Bueno, but I think both are likely to concede, to be honest. I've just been quite impressed by Bueno going forward. And also, Bueno was taking some set pieces too, which was interesting in game week 18. Some of these compliments are outrageous. Hey, mate, bench one of Martinelli, Salah, Rashford, and Martial. Bench one of Martial. It's going to probably be Martinelli again. I don't like the idea of benching Martinelli, but I don't think you can bench Manchester United attackers against Bournemouth. And I don't like the idea of benching like a KDB or a Salah. So play White or Trippier. I would start Trippier personally. Start Almiron or Trippier. I would start... Oh, that's a tough one. Almiron or Trippier? I'd back the attacker probably. Almiron. But Trippier is just so consistent, isn't he? James to Shaw for 1 free transfer. Yeah, I think that's a very, very straightforward transfer. Martinelli to Andreas for a -4. No, I don't like that, personally. Foden to Mount. I think Foden to Mount's a fine transfer. Remember, Foden does have a double game week next week if he plays the double, and it's not a great double. I don't really like Foden or Mount massively, but Mount's probably obviously better for this week. So maybe you just go for Mount and then see what happens next week. Sorry if this has been asked, but would you sell Mitrovic? Would you sell Martial to Mitrovic? That's exactly what I've done, Luke. I've already done that transfer. So I've just sold Martial to Mitrovic. So yes, I would lean that way, but I don't think it's a straightforward decision, and I don't think you have to make that move. If you've got Martial and you think he'll do really well against Bournemouth, then absolutely keep him. You don't have to bring in Mitrovic. So only 15% of the chat are actually taking a hit. So 85% are either rolling a transfer or using a free transfer. And yeah, 15% are taking a hit. So not many people taking hits this week. So you need to take that into account as well. You don't want to get overly aggressive and take like a 12-point hit. Let me just take a screenshot of my team so I can tweet it at some point. Start Trossard or Martinelli. Oh, what did I say earlier? I want to try and stay consistent. I think I would start... Oh, that's such a... The better fixture's obviously there for Trossard. I find this one really tough, actually, because someone asked me this as well. I don't know if I would start Trossard or an Arsenal attacker. Like Ødegaard, Saka, Martinelli versus Trossard. I think the Arsenal attackers are better than Trossard, but Trossard has the better fixture. The only thing is Everton away isn't an easy fixture. They tend to be a little bit better at Goodison Park. I would start Martinelli ahead of Trossard. Just. Are you switching White for Castagna? I still haven't fully decided. The chat tended to favour Ben White instead of Castagna. So I don't know. Castagna is slightly more attacking. I think Castagna's got a slightly better fixture. But White has been getting forward a little bit and he's playing in a much better defence. And I could see it being like a 0-0, 1-0 Arsenal sort of game. I don't know. Ben White versus Castagna is a tricky one for me. Would you prefer Nketiah or White as the third Arsenal asset? Considering there are other really good forwards, probably White, and considering the value for money that you get with him. And I do think the Arsenal defence is still pretty good. Should I transfer Shaw or White in for James? Shaw is better this week, but has a tough next 2 fixtures, but I don't want to get White in this game week. I would probably go Shaw now and White later. So I would prioritise Shaw ahead of White. Your elbows look fantastic. Thank you. Why does nobody consider Salah captain? I think he's fine. Just they still don't look at it, do they? Liverpool still don't look like a team that are massively at it. So would you start Castagna or Saliba? I assume that's Saliba. I would start... I'm currently leaning White instead of Castagna, so I would currently lean Saliba instead of Castagna, personally. Hey, Ross, do we have any early Brentford team news? Not that I know of yet. I'll check over on Twitter in like 5 minutes, but I haven't seen anything yet, no. Foden for Mount, then bench Martinelli for Mount. I considered that, absolutely, but I've decided not to do it. I think if Foden gets the start against Chelsea and looks good, he's got a double game week in 20. And I also like the idea of starting Martinelli this week. So I've opted against Mason Mount. I'm going to roll my second free transfer. and I'll have 2 free transfers next week. We want the conversation after the deadline. What's the topic today? I don't know what the topic will be today. It will be interesting regardless. Someone's asked for a Tinder update. There's talk of my elbows already. I don't know. It'll get weird, I'm sure. I've got a feeling today's stream's going to get weird after the deadline. Are you captaining Mitrovic? Yes, I am. Has anyone seen any Tony news? People are asking for Tony early team news. Has anyone seen anything over on Twitter? Wowzer, that was a big cough. Can you touch your elbow with your tongue? It is a very rare skill. I'll do that after the deadline. Start Andreas or Martinelli? I would start Andreas. I don't think you can bench a double game week player unless it's a really bad player. Looks like Tony is fine and will play. I've seen that's the general consensus, but I haven't seen any early actual team news around that. Can't stand that FPL Andy guy. I love Andy. I think Andy's great. Ross, you said Bueno over Patterson, but Bueno is likely to get hooked around that 60-minute mark. 58 minutes game week 17, 65 game week 18. Seems to be playing with fire. I actually prefer that Frosty. Because I don't think Wolves or Everton keep a clean sheet particularly often. If Bueno's getting subbed around 60 minutes, that's great if he gets subbed after 60. I understand that he's playing with fire, but I think Bueno being more attacking on set pieces, some of them, and getting subbed slightly earlier is probably good for his chances of a clean. That's just my perspective on it. Start Martinelli or Almiron. Also, do you think Martial is really worth selling for Mitrovic, given Bournemouth are really poor this season? I absolutely hated selling Martial, but I think it's worth it if you believe Mitrovic is the best captain, and I would start Martinelli instead of Almiron, Tyler. But they're 2 really good questions there. Like I said, I would be surprised if Martial doesn't get opportunities to score against Bournemouth. I'm just backing Mitrovic to get more, and I feel safer captaining Mitrovic than any of the other players that I owned. So that's the reason that I've currently done that. Mount or Almiron? Mason Mount by some distance for this week, but like long-term, Almiron's a better option. Lots of people asking to start Foden or Almiron. What do you think, chat? Who would you start out of Foden and Almiron? I would bet on a Foden start, and I would start Foden just. Although I'm starting Martinelli ahead of Foden, so it would be close. Maybe I'll just start Almiron. Like I said, if Foden starts, he's better than Martinelli and Almiron. It's just whether you think he'll start. I'm getting a little bit sick and tired of Foden. I'll be honest. None of them. Yeah, they're not great options, are they? Martinelli or Ødegaard? I think if I was bringing one of them in now, I would bring in Ødegaard ahead of Martinelli. I think Ødegaard is the best Arsenal attacker to own at the moment. I'm potentially looking next week at Foden to Ødegaard or the week after. Foden to Ødegaard is a transfer that's massively on my mind. I don't know when I want to make it. If I do Foden to Ødegaard this week, I have to bench Ødegaard or Martinelli. So it doesn't make sense to do it this week. As you're benching Foden this week, we can guarantee he starts and gets a nice 10-point haul. I might bench Martinelli for him. Martinelli versus Foden's a tricky one for me. I'm just starting Martinelli because he's more likely to start. I can't deal with another Foden benching. It would do my head in. Your earlobes are really smooth. You've got lovely knees. What weird compliments are coming from you guys? There's not many actually like normal compliments. It's about weird parts of my body. Would you start Ederson or Ward? So my prediction is Ederson more likely to keep a clean sheet. Ward more likely to get like an 11 or 12 pointer. So if you just want a safe 6 pointer, Chelsea look really poor at the moment. So I would probably say Ederson more likely. But Ward, because Fulham shoot so much, Ward's going to have to make at least like 6 to 9 saves if he wants to keep a clean sheet. So I would probably back Ward for like a big boy score. If he keeps a clean sheet, of course. Foden's dropping in price tonight. Is he actually? Oh, there's loads of price drops. Oh, wow. God. Looks like at the moment, Foden could drop Trossard, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Tony, Zaha, Kulusevski, Chalobah. Dallo looks like he could be getting a price drop. Cool, there are a load of players dropping in price. Quite a few players look like they might rise in price. Mitrovic, Cucurella, Mount, Andreas Havertz, Trent looks like he could rise in price. Yeah, that's slightly frustrating, but I just have to suck it up. I've already lost 0.1 on him as well. Foden's dropped. Yeah, I know Foden's dropped. He might drop again, frustratingly. Sorry, there's some lovely compliments in here as well. I'm not going to read them all out, but thank you if you're being nice and complimenting me. And then Aaron just comes in. Your glasses are definitely... Oh, he said definitely not too big for your face. I feel like that's sarcastic. I feel like you're saying my glasses are too big for my face, but there we go. Darwin or Rashford for captain? I'm an absolute sucker for a bit of pain, so I would captain Darwin ahead of Rashford. Why Mitrovic over Andreas for captain? Penalties and better data. But I think you're absolutely fine captain Andreas if you want to. Rashford or Saka? Rashford. Where do we find potential price changes? You could just go to FPL statistics if you want. Let me chuck down the chat. There's also price changes on Fantasy Football Hub. There's a link in my description if you want to, but these are sort of free and easy to read and understand. There you go. It's just a simple... It's a predictor, by the way. No one knows when price changes will happen, but that site predicts it based on transfers. Have you used any chips this season? The only chip that I've used is my first wildcard, of course. There you go. That's my sort of game week history. As you can see, in the last 3 weeks, I've gone from 2k to 1.9k to pretty much 1.9k. Like last week was like 50 odd places I went up. So it's pretty much been like 2 or 3 grey arrows in a row. But no, I've only used the one chip, which is my wildcard. Internet's a bit laggy. Yeah, I'm probably next week. Depending on what happens with Foden in game week 19, I'm probably looking to replace James and Foden. And I'm looking at Erdegaard, and then depends who gets the double. If Brighton get a double, I might go Dunk for James. If Manchester United get a double, I could bring in Dalot, and I could have Shaw, Dalot, and Rashford for a Manchester United double. So it really does depend on what happens news-wise. Start Edison and Castagna or Ward and Gabriel? Probably Ward and Gabriel. Thanks for the great content. Mitrovic or Mount for captaincy? White versus Cancelo versus Shaw. Shaw, Cancelo, White. I prefer Mitrovic to Mount captaincy, but if he gets booked, then of course Mount's probably the slightly better option because you get more minutes. Would you start Cucurella over Ben White or Trippier? Over Ben White, probably, just about. Yeah, so we have sort of already had the team news for Liverpool. Looks like Tsimikas is starting ahead of Robertson, and looks like Darwin and Salah both start as well. Are you locked in? Good question. I need to make sure I'm like actually locked in. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to rock with the team that I've got on screen. Just using the one free transfer. I've done Martial to... If you're just joining, Martial to Mitrovic has been done, confirmed. Captain in Mitrovic. And I'm going to roll my second free transfer. So I go into game week 20 with 2 free transfers. And excitingly, I'm still yet to take a hit this season, which is lovely to see. I can't see any. Sorry, I'm just looking on Twitter for Tony news. People are really asking. I've seen people predict that he's fine to start and that he's fit and everything, but I haven't seen anything like early team news wise for Brentford, unfortunately. Unless if someone can link it in the chat, if we have, then let me know. How have you become very good at public speaking? Is there any tips for everyone? If you stay around for another 10 minutes, I will tell you after the deadline some tips for public speaking. Absolutely. I'm more than happy to give you advice for that. But I'm going to try and do 5 more minutes of FPL. Can I join your league? Yes, my league code is SV1QTQ. It's above my head. It's a little bit small. It's just there. Any info on Cancelo starting? No, I haven't. The only news we're going to get is on Liverpool-Brentford because it's obviously today. Captain Salah. I don't mind Captain Salah if you want to. Bench Martinelli or Martial. I would personally start Martial, bench Martinelli, but benching decisions are largely just, it's up to you, really. I'm going to start Foden over Martinelli. Help me. It went well for you last week, to be fair, benching Martinelli, didn't it, Frosty? So, listen, if Foden starts, I think Foden's a better option than Martinelli, but do we know if Foden's going to start? At least one of us will be happy. Martinelli, Darwin to Mitrovic. I wouldn't want to sell Darwin, but yes, Mitrovic is probably a better option than Darwin this week. Long term, I prefer Darwin, and I do think it is going to happen very soon that Darwin will start to take some of his big chances. Captain Andreas or Haaland? I would captain Andreas. I can't believe I'm saying that. I would captain Andreas ahead of Haaland, but I love a double game week. Right, last few minutes before the deadline. By the time you're hearing my voice, it's probably just over 2 minutes now till the deadline. It's settled. I'm keeping Darwin. Good. I'm keeping Darwin as well. Hopefully he does well. Start White or Botman? I would start White. Your laugh is infectious. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Start Ødegaard or Almiron. Ødegaard. Do you have an OnlyFans? Yeah, I'll tell you after the deadline. Do you start Martinelli or Trossard? I think I said Martinelli, but that's a very close one. It's one that I keep going back and forth on, but yeah, I'd probably just about start Martinelli. Fatha says, what would you do with my team? I think your team looks really, really strong. Maybe Kulusevski if you want to out for a slightly better option. I don't know if he's going to be fit or not. Looks like he might not be fit for this game. So Kulusevski to Mount or Kulusevski to Ødegaard would probably be my choice there, mate. Captain Mount or Andreas. I think that's very, very tight. I would just about probably lean Andreas. I don't know. Are you less confident about Mount now, or is he still a great asset? I still think he's a good asset. I think he's not necessarily a great asset anymore just because Chelsea don't look great. And looking at those fixtures, like Fulham look decent at the moment, and City's obviously the hardest fixture in the league, arguably. So, I'm not sure. Please check my super chat. I've lost... the chat's going too quickly. I've lost all of previous super chats. I'm sorry. You've got 1 minute till the deadline. I do apologise. I'm not deliberately doing it. Start Darwin or Andreas. I would start both, but I would start Andreas ahead of Darwin, but I'd like to have both. Do you have to use your triple captain? You've got a triple captain. I've not used mine yet. Start Cancelo or White. I would start Cancelo probably. You got less than a minute till the deadline. Make sure you are locked in. Less than a minute till the deadline. Get those teams locked in. Make those final decisions. Haaland versus Darwin versus Salah for captaincy. I still prefer Haaland from all the single game week players. I think if you're not captaining a doubler, I would captain Haaland. Right, that is it. We are locked. Locked in. We'll be very, very soon. 4 p.m. has rolled around. There we go. Oh, that was quite a busy stream, wasn't it? What I would say is stay around, stick around. We're going to probably do at least another half an hour of streaming and chatting about various random things, FPL and non-FPL. But if you do want to leave, that's fine. Please drop a like on your way out. Please do subscribe as well. But hopefully you stick around and yeah, we'll have a little bit of a chat about some other stuff as well. But thank you for being here if you are about to leave. I do appreciate you. How are we feeling? Give me on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being you are feeling terrible about your team and you think it's all about to fail, and 10 being you absolutely love your team and you think you're going to get 100 plus points. What do you think about your team? I'm just looking down. The first 2 messages that I've just read is now take off that cap and shirt off. I don't know why you guys try stripping me. The deadline ends and it's like after hours, isn't it? Let me know from 1 to 10. 1 being your team is terrible, 10 being your team is fantastic. Goodness, my captain is on Rashford. It's a good week to captain Rashford. 6, 7, 6, 5. Lots of 6s, quite a few 10s. I like the confidence. A few 1s. 6 to 7. 6 to 7. Okay. I would say 6 to 7 as well. I feel like I've covered most of the major bases. I've got Chelsea defence, I've got Newcastle, United and Arsenal all covered. I've got Martinelli and Rashford, who are 2 highly owned players. I've got Andreas and Mitrovic, Haaland, Darwin. The only thing that I haven't covered is Chelsea attack. So I think the only thing that can really hurt me this week, along with the obvious like Kanes and Almirons, is if Chelsea smashing the goals. Outside of that, I think the team's looking fairly good, isn't it? I'm fairly happy with it. What are you drinking? Is that Jaeger and Coke? No, it's just Coke. It's just a Coke. I had a little bit of rum on New Year's Eve. A little bit of rum and Coke, spiced rum. I think it was Captain Morgan's, but yeah. Ross, what do you use on those beautiful elbows in the winter? Oh, I just had a feeling this was going to be a weird post-deadline stream. I do nothing to my elbows. Stop talking about my elbow. My elbows are covered as well. Do you know what? I'm gonna cover my... There you go. You're making me feel self-conscious about my elbows. How have you become a very good public speaker? Any tips for people in there? Oh, yes, I was going to speak about public speaking, wasn't I? Frustratingly, the only way to get good at public speaking is to publicly speak. So you are never going to do well the first time you speak publicly. If anyone hasn't watched my content before, I'm a lecturer. That's my day job. So I lecture for a living. The first lecture that I gave was probably quite shocking. The more you give it, the more comfortable you feel. The second thing is preparing. The more prepared I am for a lecture, or the more prepared I am for a stream, if I've done my research, if I turn up to a video and I feel good, then I find it a lot easier to talk more fluently. You don't feel like you've got to say as much. You don't feel like you've got to make it up on the spot. The more prepared you can be, the better. And the other thing, finally, it's something I spoke about a few times. It's called the spotlight effect. It's the idea that people don't really care what you're doing. You're much more worried about yourself than others are. And you've got this idea that there's a spotlight on you. As you're walking down the street, as you're delivering your public speaking, you've got this idea that everyone's staring at you and everyone's worried about everything you're saying and everyone's hanging on to your every word. No one really cares too much. Like I just slipped up a minute ago as I was speaking. You might have noticed, you might have not, you might be half listening. That's what happens largely when you're doing public speaking as well. So no one really cares if you slip up slightly as well. You can make a joke out of it. You'll see me, if I stutter on my stream, I go, depending on what sort of public speaking event it is. If it's a professional one, you don't need to. But if I'm delivering a lecture and I stutter, then I'll sort of make a joke out of it and people find it quite funny. So practice, preparation, and also just feeling comfortable in yourself in the way that you deliver as well. And also, tip for not using things such as and which are like fillers, is just taking a break in between your sentences. So it's one of the best pieces of advice I ever received. You will notice when I'm streaming, I'll sometimes just stop speaking and then I'll start speaking again. It's usually because I don't know exactly what I'm going to say in the next sentence. So I would advise you to learn the art of breathing in between sentences. And that sounds like a really obvious thing to do. It's so difficult though. And it's taken me years to practice that. So you'll notice in my streams, I don't too often, because I'll just take a break instead. The other reason taking a break is really nice is it gives people a chance to listen to what you want to say. So if I deliver a sentence, especially if you're teaching something, people, if you just constantly reel off sentences, especially when you talk as quickly as me, and you don't ever take a break, people don't have a chance to think about what you've just said. So there we go. There's some advice. I'm not saying I'm the perfect public speaker. I'm definitely not. I speak far too quickly. I am probably a little bit too relaxed. I'm not a very formal public speaker. There are issues with the way I deliver as well, but yeah, definitely that's probably my advice. Do you imagine the crowd naked? Nah, that's a terrible technique. Especially as I teach 18-year-olds at university, I don't want to imagine my 18-year-old students naked. I think that's something for a court case there, isn't it? Um, can we see a toenail review? No. People are saying I'm hairy. I've got hairy forearms. Well, they're not. They're just kind of like I'm a man. No, they're just normal, like slightly hairy forearms. Like you're making me self. I feel like I could cover up my entire body. Stop it. From Game Week 21 onwards, this is an FPL question randomly chucked in. What do you think about switching Darwin to Wilson to enable funds for a second Arsenal midfielder? Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think that's fine. Chest press machine. How many kg? I don't really use the chest press machine, to be honest. Any good books for this sort of thing? Any good books for public speaking? I don't think I've ever read a book for public speaking, unfortunately. There probably are some really good books out there. It's never been something that I've struggled with massively. So I've never really read anything on it. That's my back. I've got a background in psychology. So I teach psychology. Are you a part-time public speaker apart from FPL content creator? I'm a part-time lecturer, part-time PhD, and then I do YouTube on top of that. So I split my time between lecturing and doing my PhD. What shampoo do you use, Ross? That's just mean. It's just not necessary, is it? I don't use shampoo. I use shower gel. Don't get back to this. We had a whole debate last season after a deadline once about whether you use shower gel or shampoo on a bald head. I actually run a poll on whether people thought I use shampoo or shower gel. So there we go. Is Haaland going to hurt your rank? Yes, Haaland will hurt our rank if you haven't captained him. I have 3 dragons. Do you want one? They eat bananas. I'd love a banana eating dragon. That sounds great. What do you lecture in? I lecture in sports psychology. So like how to improve athletes, how to improve performance, mental capacity in sport, stuff like that. Was the curry last time any good? It was delicious. I had a chicken tikka madras. It was beautiful. You're good at public speaking, but do you enjoy it? I absolutely adore public speaking. I don't get nervous at all. You could put me in front of a stadium of like 50,000 people, and I just don't get nervous. I don't know why. Like these deadline streams, if you think about it, I think we just reached, it was just over 6,000 at one point. Speaking to 6,000 people, I know that's not the same, but it can still be quite terrifying. But no, I don't really mind it. I really enjoy it, public speaking. My calling in life is teaching. I feel like the thing that I am meant to do is to teach, whether that be teaching FPL, whether that be teaching about mental health, sports psychology, whatever it is. I love teaching. So no, I love public speaking. What's your favorite music? My favorite music is mainly UK rap, which people don't believe when they hear me speak. Like if you just listen to the way I've just spoken, you probably wouldn't say UK rap, but mainly UK rap. So Dave's my favorite artist. But I hate this answer because normally you ask this question when you want to have a bit of a chat with someone. When they say I listen to a bit of everything, it's a bit boring, but I genuinely do listen to a bit of everything. But probably UK rap and then like indie music is my other stream, which is completely different. But there we go. Are you a watch fan? Not particularly. I'm normally wearing kind of jewelry rather than a watch, but maybe when I'm rich and famous, I'll get a huge watch. Big Rolex. Yelena asks, what are you having for dinner? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. My mum said that she's not got Tesco coming till tomorrow. Outrageous behaviour from her. So probably McDonald's. Chicken selects. Because they're just absolutely goated. Let me know in the chat. Are chicken selects the best thing at McDonald's? And why is the answer yes? How do you get those eyebrows looking so sexy? Is this an insult? I pluck them. I probably shouldn't have been that in public. Let's say I don't pluck them, but yeah, I pluck them. That's it. They're not great eyebrows, to be honest. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. Do you wash your beard with shampoo? Not a joke. I really don't know how people with beard do. I have a beard shampoo and conditioner. The issue is when I have my beard this length, my beard's quite short, so it's quite like prickly. So to have my beard like soft, it has to be longer than this. But I think my beard looks better shorter, like this. Like when my beard's long, it looks messy. So if you want it soft, it has to be longer. You can't really have a soft beard when it's this short. But there we go. That's enough beard talk. Ross, do you like chemistry at all? I like the chemistry between you and Isaac. No, I'm not really a big sciencey person. I like the brain. I like neuroscience, but I'm less so like chemistry and physics. I find it interesting, but I'm just never really learnt much about it. Ross, is there any difference between public speaking and going live stream in front of people versus no people in front of you? The only difference for me is projection of voice. I speak a lot louder when I'm lecturing. Like I'm talking at a slightly louder than conversation level right now. And the other thing is when you're lecturing, you look at loads of different places. So I will make eye contact with different people for like 1 second at a time just to look at them and you look around. Whereas I spend the whole time looking at a camera here. So there are slight differences, yeah, for sure. My legs and bum have gone completely to sleep because I've been sat here for over 2 hours. Whereas when I lecture, my legs hurt because I sort of walk around quite a lot. How much do you earn? I assume that's about YouTube. I'm not going to answer that. Not because I care. I would get up my earnings right now, but I feel like that's other YouTubers might care. Do you like Akala if you like UK rap? I don't think I've heard of Akala, Andy. I will look into Akala. I feel like I should have, but I don't. Flapjack Gaming has just donated €5 but didn't say anything. I'll look out for your name. Chicken selects suck, Frosty just said. Yeah. That's just an outrageous comment. How much on average is your income from YouTube? Why is everyone asking how much I earn? I can't, like I said, like if I say how much I earn, then you can probably work out how much someone like Andy earns. And I just feel like that just sets a bad precedent for revealing that sort of thing. So I don't care. I'm a very open person. How much do you bench? For reps, 80 to 85 kilos. For a 1 rep, I'm probably pushing 100. I don't do a 1 rep test because I work out alone and I don't want to drop 100 kilos on my head. Oh, my camera's gone. Let's give that a little reset. Sorry, I'm just behind on the chat. I'm just catching up. Hi, Ross. Love you and your bald head. I love you and your probably non-bald head, Mikey. There are some funny questions in here. Do you like being bald, Raptor? This is an interesting question to answer. I have absolutely no issue with being bald or shaving my head. I think it's absolutely fine. I think it's a lot easier. I think I enjoy wearing a cap anyway. Even when I had hair, like I don't mind wearing a cap. Like I think that's quite cool. I don't have any issue. The only issue with being bald is that most females don't find it attractive. So, like, if you ask someone who their ideal like celebrity crush is or anything like that, no one ever says anyone that's bald. Like, I don't think being bald is particularly attractive to most people. So that's the only reason that I don't like being bald. Like, I don't mind it in and of myself. I just know that most girls don't. Like, even if like we'll go, like, people wanted a Tinder update stuff. If you go onto Tinder, like 90% of girls are like, what are you looking for? Someone with long brown hair seems to be like the #1 thing. So like, that's the only reason I wouldn't want to be bald. But other than that, I really don't mind it. I think it's quite good. Would you consider corrective eye surgery or do you look weird without glasses? I don't look weird without glasses, but I like wearing glasses. I think it sort of makes my face more interesting. So no, I wouldn't. My eyesight isn't that bad. It's quite that my glasses are quite weak. So Gabriel says, I'm in your class in uni. Are you in? There we go. There's one of my students apparently in here. So hello. Ross, you'll get all the ladies when you tell them your overall rank. I don't think that's likely. So there we go. Where are you? I'm just resetting my camera. It overheats, but I'm just giving it a second. Did someone just ask Yelena what I smell like? Yelena, what does Ross smell like? Yelena, don't ask that question. I smell fantastic. Thoughts on filet fish? Just why would you go to McDonald's and get fish? That's my question. You're the most interesting FPL YouTuber. Thank you very much. Favorite holiday destination? I was discussing this the other day with Yelena herself, actually. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go to Croatia. Australia's on the list. I still haven't been to the US as well, so the US is on there. There are loads of places. I want to go everywhere. Canada is another place. Genuinely, there are so many. My aim for 2023 is to try and go to 3 different countries outside of the UK. That's the aim. What about males? Do you fancy them much? Unfortunately, not my preference, but I have no issue if that is your preference. Oh, just seen, sorry. Frosty with a massive super chat. Sorry, I've been in my own world. To make it even worse with chicken selects, they're now tiny. KFC is better than McDonald's. I agree that KFC chicken is better than McDonald's, but there's no KFC near me, so I'm going to have to settle for chicken selects. But thank you very much for the massive super chat as always, my man. I appreciate you. I love you, Bald Man Raptor. I love you too. Hey, Ross, how is your pickup game? You tell me. Have I landed you yet? My pickup game is fine. So I'm trying to answer new questions. Ross, will you use your triple captain in a double game week? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Are your lectures available on YouTube? No, they're just in person. They don't go on YouTube. They're just in person lectures. What other sports do you like? Darts, golf, and basketball are the only other 3 sports I really watch, but I don't watch a massive amount of them. What uni do you teach at and what subject? I teach sports psychology at Nottingham Trent. Is Robertson out? Apparently Simicast starts. I've seen Simicast starts, but I haven't seen anything else outside that. Do you meditate? No, I don't. I probably should. I've tried a few times. My brain just races, but I think you just need to stick with it. But yeah, it's something I'd probably like to do more. If you didn't make FPL videos, do you think you'd make it as a good Guess Who character? Absolutely. I mean, I'm bald with a hat and glasses and a beard. Like, that's an interesting Guess Who character for sure. You guys make me laugh. Shane says, are you single? I am indeed single, Shane. If you couldn't tell already. Croatia is incredible. Yeah, I want to go to Zagreb, to be honest, but we'll see. Croatia and Switzerland are the 2 places that I want to go to most in Europe, and then there are some places outside of Europe I want to go to as well. Mexico and the US you could do together. That is actually a really good point. That's an excellent point. Maybe that'll be what I do at some point. You should go to Norway and up north. I went to Finland twice. So I've been to Finland. I know that's not Norway, but I'm saying it's in that general direction. So, yeah. But Norway, I love Norway, and I know there's quite a few FPL managers in Norway as well. So we could probably get some sort of meetup in Norway. Did you visit Ireland in your lifetime? Yeah, I visited Ireland in the summer. I went to County Donegal. So I went to Donegal for an FPL meetup with FPL Viking. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I literally went this summer to, I think I was there for 4 or 5 days. Can I have your number? I don't regularly give out my number, so I'm gonna say no to that one, but maybe in the future. What is your height and weight? My height is like just under 5'10". It's 178 centimeters, and then my weight is, I don't know. I haven't weighed myself recently. About 76 kilos. If that helps anyone. Does the founder of Fantasy Football Hub also have a PhD in psychology? I think Will has a master's in sport in psychology. I don't think he has a PhD. I think it's a master's. Ross, go to Stockholm. It's unbelievable. Yeah, maybe. Maybe Sweden is up there on the list as well. Croatia, why? It's not that special. No offense, so many other beautiful countries. I think Croatia looks amazing, to be honest. I think it looks beautiful. Who's Yelena? She's another FPL YouTuber. I'll link her channel. I don't think she's here right now. She's I don't think she's in the chat, but go subscribe to her. Genuinely one of the main FPL YouTubers that I can see doing well in the foreseeable future. And she's pretty good at FPL. Frustratingly good at FPL, to be honest. But yeah, go subscribe to her channel. But yeah, Yella and I are very good friends, so that's why we always talk about her in the chat. And people like to make up rumours. Imagine being trolled and joked about this much for being bald. Good thing I've got thick skin, eh? Right? With you guys in the chat. I'm only joking. I love you. I love you all, really. When do you finish your degree? Because it's part-time, because I'm doing part-time PhD, part-time lecturing. I've still got like 3 years left of my PhD, so I'm going to be 28 when I finish my PhD, because I'm 25 now, so I think I finished my PhD when I'm 28. Have you ever been to Stealth nightclub in Nottingham? Maybe when I was drunk. I don't think so. Don't recall going there. Do you like Yelena? Yeah, she's amazing. Of course I like her. Do you do football betting? I don't bet very often, no. Do you like French cuisine? It's okay. My ex was French, and I was with her for 6 years, so I now hate French cuisine. No, French cuisine's fine. I have no issue with it. I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of French cuisine in comparison to any other cuisine. The Isle of Man is a very nice country. Somewhere else I'd like to visit for sure. Are you and FPL Andy good friends? If you mean Let's Talk FPL, I've met Let's Talk FPL in real life. He's great. I talk to him every now and again. I wouldn't say I'm good friends. The only FPL YouTubers that I'm really good friends with is Oscar, FPL Focal, FPL Harry, Yelena, and then I talk to Dan sort of semi regularly, FPL mate. So everyone outside of that, I'm nice to, and we will chat, but I'm not like friends with. I wouldn't say. Ross, what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate? PS, you look the same. I think that's a discussion for another point. I disagree with large parts of what he says. Sometimes he'll pop up with something that I sort of nod to, but generally I think he goes about it in the wrong way, probably. What is your PhD in? Sport. It's basically in the role of virtual reality in elite football. So I'm looking at how we can use virtual reality training to improve the performance of professional footballers. So we're currently working with a Premier League club near me. Again, I can't say the Premier League club because I'm not allowed, but we're working with a Premier League club, and we're using that with their injured players to try and improve their rehabilitation. No way you are 25. I am. I'm 26 in March, so I'm almost 26. Can anyone come and sit in your lecture? Not really. No, they're for the people that have paid, because you have to pay like $9,000 for a lecture. Not for a lecture, for your course per year. So no, I don't think anyone can come and sit in, unfortunately. Do you know a country named Nepal? Of course I know Nepal. Jesus, I'm trying to find questions that aren't about Yelena. Bless her. At least she's not having to be in the chat for this. Ross, you look like Alex Volkanovski. Yeah, I get told this a lot. I don't watch the UFC, but I get told this on a regular basis. Which places have you visited in Finland? It was... Oh, I forgot the name of it. It was like Akaslompolo. It was like, it's North Finland. It was like Lapland, basically. I forgot the name of it. Annoyingly. It's like Akaslompolo or something like that. I can't remember. Thoughts on Ben Mee? Ben Mee is a hero. I love Ben Mee. Oh, God, Yelena's in the chat. Jesus, you've missed. Just don't listen back to the last 15 minutes, whatever you do. Whatever you do, don't listen back. I haven't revealed it's Forest. I genuinely, my PhD is not with Nottingham Forest. It's genuinely not that club. When did you start your YouTube channel? Was it as a hobby or a potential job? I started my YouTube channel in August 2021, so it's literally less than 18 months ago. It's absolute madness, isn't it? Less than 18 months ago. My first live stream had 149 people or something, was the maximum that it hit. It's just crazy. I'm 42 and taking your advice. Nice. Nice. I give out okay advice for a 25-year-old, I think. Did you visit Letterkenny in Donegal? That's exactly where I stayed, Michael. I stayed in Letterkenny. I can't remember where it was. It was like the... I can't remember what hotel I stayed in. But yeah, I stayed in Letterkenny. Is lecturing a decent paid job? It's okay. It's okay. Ross, pleasure to meet you with Nima at FPL Meets in Manchester and play some pool. Wishing you all the best for 23, fella. Lovely to meet you as well. Yeah, you beat us, I think, didn't you? I was with Mr. Midnight Mule. We played. How much do you earn from YouTube? Lots of questions about how much money I earn. Oh, some of these questions are brilliant. Yelena, you are here. Ross won't tell us how old you are. I feel like it's not my place to tell you how old you are. If Yelena wants to tell you how old she is, she can say it in the chat. That's not really my place to start listing her date of birth and where she lives and stuff. Do you want to know her blood type as well? Akaslompolo. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but that was how I imagined it looking in my head. Okay, that's where I went in Finland. It was good. Would you sacrifice your girlfriend for FPL? I don't have a girlfriend, so yes, I would sacrifice her for FPL. Are you familiar with Nigeria? I'm familiar. I've not been, but I'm familiar with Nigeria. What is your favorite sports psychology topic? I like gaze behavior. Before everyone starts laughing, that's GAZE. Gaze behavior. I basically looking at eye tracking data. I find that very interesting. But I look at basically choking under pressure. So why do certain athletes under pressure perform well, and why does some athletes under pressure perform really poorly? And one way that you can look at that is through eye tracking goggles, through heart rate measurements and stuff like that. So that's my area of expertise in sports psych. Are you surprised by the reach of your YouTube channel? I'm incredibly surprised. I'm sitting here half an hour after the deadline now with 1,700 people talking about all sorts of random stuff. Yeah, it's crazy how well the YouTube channel's done. And I'm forever grateful for that as well. And yeah, I am shocked. I never expected it to do this well. I was saying that when I started my YouTube channel last season, I said if by the end of the first season I could hit 1,000 subscribers, I'd be delighted. And obviously we're sat here with a ridiculous number now. So it's, yeah, I can't believe it. And I'm very grateful. Do you play chess? I can play chess. I don't regularly play it. Over lockdown, I got into chess a lot more, mainly due to the Queen's Gambit, which everyone watched, obviously, and then I started to learn it myself. But yeah, I'm not great at chess. I know how the pieces move. I know a couple of openings, and then that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, team news. There you go. Yelena's just given you her age. Yelena is 46. You look good for your age as well. You look good for 46, Yelena. I think as 46-year-olds go. Who's playing Liverpool? I think we know the news. It was just Tony, wasn't it, actually, we wanted to check. Yep, so that was the lineup we were given anyway. Simicast starts, Salah Darwin starts. But it was actually Tony we wanted news. And a few people have Ben Mee as well, I think. But Ben Mee's going to start, isn't it? It's Ben Mee. Okay, so Tony's not involved at all. So if you kept Tony, he's not in the 11 or on the bench as far as I can see. There we go. YouTubers earn £5 per 1,000 views roughly equals do the math. There you go. Did someone do the math then? That's not entirely... It depends how long that someone's watched for, and it depends how many ads I put in. So you might be able to do a very rough estimate, but that won't give you everything. Yelena, you've got about 50 questions to answer in the chat here. You might as well get on with it. Do you think you'll do any joint streams with Focal, Yelena, etc. in the future? Definitely. With both of the people you've mentioned there, Harry as well. I want to do more stuff. Would you consider a sponsorship with Manscaped? I've already been approached by Manscaped in the past, so I'm probably not doing that, no. I mean, how would you demonstrate the products? I'm not going to start grooming on screen, am I? I've always found nutrition interesting. I like nutrition as well. Is gay behavior your expertise? I didn't say gay behavior. It's gays, like your gays. I knew someone would. There we go. Obviously, Yelena's not 46. This was obviously a joke. Why? She's not 46. I like myself an older woman. Yeah, there we go. FPL Rizta. Tony gonna suit shopping for his hearing. Oh, Tony's gonna suit shopping for his hearing. Probably. He probably actually has. Bless him. I say bless him. Shouldn't have bet. Which languages do you speak? I can just about get by a very, very little amount with French and English. I'm an ignorant English person that doesn't bother learning any other languages. Ross, give us a cheeky ad now so that you can order extra chicken selects. I'm telling you, throughout the stream, YouTube is just screaming at me to insert an ad. If I inserted an ad now, though, everyone would just see an ad, and you'd have to sit there for 20 seconds, and then no one would come back. So this is why I don't put ads in my live streams. I'd probably earn... I was going to tell you how much I'd earn. I'd earn a fair amount more money if I put ads throughout my live streams, but I just don't want to. In the nicest way possible, I always assumed you were 35. Maybe it's the bald head. Well, I'm not going to lie. That doesn't sound very nice. I mean, that's not. I'm not reading that and thinking that that's nice. But there we go. I'm only joking. It's fine. There you go. Yelena's giving you her actual age. How is Ross younger than his student? That's so weird. Who's my student? Who's my student? I'm 25. Why do you know the age of my students? Do you make money from people who have YouTube Premium? Yes. The only people I don't make money from, I say make money from, the only people that don't contribute towards my revenue are people that use ad blockers. So if you use an ad blocker, then you are taking money out of my children's mouths. You're genuinely like, you're the reason that my children are having to have chicken selects rather than KFC chicken. So I hope you're happy with yourself if you use an ad blocker. Would you ever do call-ins with members? I do weekly calls with members, but the thing is, I've got I think we have 190 members now, so it gets a bit like I can't promise too much for members, unfortunately, which is a shame. I really hope you're not reading the chat. Comment ça va? Ça va bien? Probably sell Darwin if he blanks today. Yeah, let's hope Darwin doesn't blank today. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be lovely. Do you have any tips on how to overcome performance anxiety? Performance at what? But let's say just like performance in general. How to overcome performance anxiety. One sec, let me get this back. How to overcome performance anxiety. Other than just preparation and I don't really, it depends let me know what performance it is, because sport's very different from like exams. And then if you're talking about something else, then that's probably another chat altogether. You are very fluent in English. Congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate that. How are you doing in the cup? I got knocked out of the cup, unfortunately. How did you generate 150 people in your first stream? Was it lots of advertising? I already had like 12,000 followers on Twitter. So that was how I got 150 people. And then from there, people enjoyed the streams. So like my third or fourth stream, I already had like 600 people in there. So my streams kind of snowballed very quickly, which I'm very happy with. Crazy Edits has just become a Rap Tier 2 member. Thank you very much. There we go. Another member. I have Adblock and Premium, so don't feel bad, Ross. Why would you have Adblock and Premium? Isn't the whole point of Premium to not have ads? Are your children in the room right now? Yeah, my children are in the room. Is your child with yellow? Yes, we have a child. By your children, do you mean your students? No, I don't feed my students. I don't have children. I don't have children. I'm not feeding my students. This is getting weird. Deadline Daddy, hello again. Hello, Ben. Good to see you. If you like Mexico, you should look at Cubs. It's very nice. What's Cubs? Is this a place in Mexico? This is good. I'd quite like some Mexico. What is... If you like Mexico, you should look at Cubs. I just typed in Cubs Mexico and nothing come up, James. Stop being weird, chat. There's no point, David. The chat just get weird. I allow it. It's fine. We'll let them do their thing. The chat is going mad. The chat is going slightly mad, to be fair. Goodness me. When did you start on Twitter? I started on Twitter in July 2020. So it's been 2.5 years I've been on Twitter, which is crazy because it's like 82,000 followers or something, which is mad now. Absolutely mad. By the way, I think pretty much everyone here would follow me on Twitter anyway, but if you've not followed me on Twitter, also follow me on Instagram as well. Do you know what? Just follow me everywhere. Stalk me. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Do the whole shebang. Goodness me, 12k followers. I think I have another question. How? I was just interacting with people. I talked about psychology a little bit and people followed me. And then the followers just continue to grow from there. Following is exponential. If you join Twitter and you see that I have 81,700 followers, then you'll think, well, he's probably worth following. So every time someone new joins Twitter, I tend to get followed by them because they'll just assume that I'm a good account because I've got loads of followers. It's not necessarily true. I'm not saying I am a good account to follow, but that's the situation we're in. Also, I need to just tip that way. There you go. My green screen was cut off. Fine. Title this as an R-rated stream. I think I've been very PG in this stream. I haven't said a single thing. Do you like Stormzy? Yeah, Stormzy's great. Do you call your students my children? I don't call... No, I'm not weird with my students. Oh, Cuba. Oh, he meant Cuba. Okay, that makes more sense. Maybe I'll go to Cuba then. I need to go to Mexico first, though. Mexico's on the list. Mexico, Croatia, Australia. Jamaica has made a recent appearance on the list as well. Austin, Texas, apparently. Don't ask me. There are loads of places that are on the list. I have a list. I'll reveal the list at some point. Your students pay £9,000 to listen to you and you give us this content for free. I appreciate you, Ross. This is true. Students have to pay to be there. You are beautiful. If you finish in the top 500, will you wear a long blonde wig in the stream for Game Week 1 next season? How about this? If I'm in the top... I need to be careful here. If I'm in the top 100 going into Game Week 38, I will wear a long blonde wig for the stream. There we go. If I'm in the top 100, I'll wear a long blonde wig. I will warn you, it will be incredibly sexy. Like, it will be very... Me in a blonde wig. Not that I would know. Not that I would know. Not that I've ever worn a blonde wig. Like, but me in a blonde wig is quite something. So, get ready for that. Definitely come visit Mexico and the US. Maybe I can do Austin, Texas and Mexico in one trip. Maybe that can get done in one trip. Who knows? Ross, your streams are hilarious. It's just a Q&A about your life. It gets very... Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what happens in these streams. I kind of black out and just answer any questions you want. Take the hat off, Ross. The hat's staying on today. I'm not feeling the hat coming off today, unfortunately. Maybe in the next one. I loved Mexico. It was full of miniature people. Miniature people. I don't think you're supposed to say that. Follow you everywhere. Let me get my binoculars. Damn right. We need a collab with you in a long blonde wig and Yelena wearing a bald cap. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yelena's been growing her beard recently as well, so she's ready. How much money do you make from YouTube? I make a sufficient amount of money from YouTube to live. I could probably go full-time now, but I choose not to because I'm doing my PhD. Hopefully that helps to answer. Yelena is a bit of a hottie. Fine. Go for it. What percentage of students repay their loan back in full? Not many. I am currently £76,000 in debt. So that's nice. So if anyone wants to do a super chat donation for £76,000, go for it. Actually, no, because YouTube take 30%. What is... do £76,000, but also pay me the 30% that YouTube will take. Do you know what? Just round it up to 100,000. No, that wouldn't be right, would it? No, that would be just about right. Yeah, get you 100,000. If anyone wants a £100,000 donation to pay for my student loans, I would really appreciate that. Austin and Mexico is very doable. Okay, Austin and Mexico is doable. That's good to know. I'm going to bear that in mind. How tall are you? Huge. Huge. You've definitely superimposed yourself on a blonde supermodel. Maybe. I can't comment on that situation. Ross, what grades did you get in your GCSEs? My GCSEs were decent, not great. I think it was 4 A stars and 8 A's. I have 12 GCSEs. Yeah, 4 A stars, 8 A's. So it was decent. My A levels were slightly better than my GCSEs. GCSEs I found slightly, not difficult, but I much preferred my A levels, basically. If you were to go on a date with an FPL content creator or someone involved with FPL, who would you go for? Good question. A date. I'll choose FPL Focal because I love him. £108,000, 572 should cover it. Perfect. There you go. £108,000 is what I need to pay off my student loans. Thank you. I'm still waiting. No one appears to have done a super chat for £108,000. I don't know why. Maybe Mr. Beast is watching. Could you imagine if Mr. Beast came in and gave me £100,000? I would absolutely love that. Please, please, Mr. Beast. I don't think Mr. Beast plays FPL, sadly. Let me go back to my team rather than looking at my Twitter page. I'm moving to Nottingham, shaving my head, wearing glasses and a cap and following you everywhere. That sounds like a plan. Doesn't sound like a particularly exciting plan, but it sounds like a plan. I've got you, Ross. I just need your bank account number, sort code, and your mother's maiden name. That sounds like... not sure about that one. What's your favourite cuisine for takeout and why is it Indian? Indian's the best food, that's why. I love just seeing every third message is who is Yelena? I told this is Yelena. Go watch. Just some weirdo. You can go watch her channel. There you go. What's your favorite position? That's a loaded question. Left wing. Not left. Wait. Not left. I'm not talking about a political position here. It's about foot. Do you know what? Centre forward. I'm just going to stay safe with answering that question. Since you're a professor, are you the Indiana Jones of the FPL creator community? Well, now I am. I absolutely love that. This chat is sus. Yeah, the chat's sus every week, to be fair. You can refresh now. The crash is over. Can you actually refresh? Can I look at my team for next week? Oh, we can. Cool. Right, let's do that quickly. Stop answering your weird questions. No, I'm not right. I'm not talking about my political position on this. I will categorically say I'm not a Tory, but I'm not going to go anything above and beyond that. And I'm instead going to show you my team because then I can't upset anyone. So this is my... There we go. There we go. So that's my team for next week. Apparently a surprise game week 20 blank. So, there we are. What A-levels did you take? I took psychology, philosophy and ethics, history, and English. 4 humanities-based subjects. So blank game week next week. I think I'm going to probably captain Ben White. Seriously, I don't know where the fixtures are. Have you ever watched Love Island? This isn't against anyone that watches it. I couldn't think of anything worse myself than watching Love Island, but that's just, me. I personally prefer to watch YouTube videos. So, I don't know where the fixtures have actually gone, but that's not very nice, is it? Oh, here we go. So, this is the team for next week. Let's get Edison on. Let's get Foden in for now. And let's get Castagna in probably for like that. So I think I don't want Andreas in really actually against Newcastle. I think what I'll need to do is take out James and bring in a defender for James. And then probably I don't need to make any other transfer other than that, really. James to a defender. Someone maybe Dallo if Manchester United get a double. And then outside that, I could replace Rashford if I wanted to, but I don't feel like I need to. Maybe Foden. But the issue is obviously Foden's got the double. So I don't really desperately want to remove Foden before a double game week. Let me just save that team. Right, what did I miss in the chat? Hey Ross, love your vids. What are your thoughts on The Apprentice? I've never actually watched The Apprentice, but it's a program I probably would actually enjoy. So maybe it's something I'll watch this year. I stopped watching chess content because of drama and scandals. Hope FPL doesn't get any drama soon. There is tons of FPL drama. It's all on Twitter though. I don't think you'll get any FPL drama from watching YouTube videos. But if you're in the FPL community on Twitter, there's always drama. There's drama everywhere it goes. I'd say FPL Harry is a Tory. No comment. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. What YouTubers do you watch? I interestingly watch golf, so Good, or a golf content channel. Harry Mack, Ali Abdul, Graham Stephan. I don't know if anyone watches these YouTubers. I might just be listing names that no one knows. I think my team looks okay, though, for Game Week 20. It's not terrible. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible. Oh, wait. Why does it say Mitrovic captain? I swear I just changed the captain. Make captain. Save. I mean, quite obviously, Haaland's getting the armband. I suppose you could triple captain Haaland if you wanted to, but it's not a great double game week. Do you watch Mr. Beast? I occasionally do. I'm more interested in Mr. Beast like podcasts. Like I'm interested into hearing him talk about YouTube. You are the best FPL content creator. I love your desperate tweets. Thank you. Appreciate that. Do you watch Mark Goldbridge? No, not myself. Do you think... Could you imagine if FPL ever introduced microtransactions? Extra wildcard, £9.99. They would make millions. I would spend a lot of money. If you could get an extra wildcard for like 50 quid, I would buy an extra wildcard. I'm not even ashamed to admit that. How's your bulk going? I was ill for 2 weeks, so I couldn't work out for 2 weeks, and I lost like 3 kilos, which has taken me about 4 months to put on. The bulk's going fine. Actually, just smack the mic. When I didn't eat for 2 weeks, I looked like I had a six-pack again. I lost so much like fat, but I also lost muscle as well. So I'm back at it. I'm feeling confident. Let's bulk up. Let's get beefy. Is it a bad game week? Spurs are called for at the back currently. Yeah, maybe it's not a terrible game week. Maybe it's not a terrible game week. I don't know. Mitrovic against Newcastle away. Rashford against City at home. Foden's an issue. I've got to replace James. It's not terrible, but it's not perfect. Favourite golfer? I'm feeling the Matty Fitzpatrick vibes. I do like Fitzpatrick. Absolutely. Are you considering any Spurs players for Game Week 20? Probably not. What's your age? I'm 25. The Traitors was a great series which explored human dynamics, available on iPlayer. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I might watch it at some point. Thoughts on the Live series? I think it's probably ruining golf. I watched a podcast recently that they should probably just have one. They need to just have one tour, really, or 2 tours. I think the more tours they have, the more it detracts from the overall idea, and then you have a spread of players. So, who's winning the darts? It's got to be Van Gerwen, hasn't it? Sorry, I'm muting you whilst watching Yelena's channel in another window. At least she's getting views, I guess. I mean, you're not going to hear me saying this now, Eric, anyway, but at least you're watching the content. Good job. I had brunch with Rory McIlroy and his wife a couple of years ago. That's amazing. That's awesome. Have you ever watched Shutter Island? Shutter Island's one of my favourite films. It was amazing. What topics did you study in A-level history? We did the Vietnam War. It was one called Pit to Peel, which was the history politics. It was a bit dry. What else did we do? We did the history of medicine. There was a couple of things. My major dissertation at the end of my A-levels was on the Vietnam War. My team looks very, very good from Game Week 19. Good for you. Did you go through the Brentford-Liverpool lineups already? Yeah, no surprises. Apart from Tony's not involved at all, and Salah and Darwin start. Robertson's not involved, I don't think. I don't know if he's benched or what. Simicast starts, basically. What's your study method? I've got kind of like an eidetic memory, so I can read stuff and just remember it really easily. It's kind of like cheating, but it's just repetition. Reading, writing, stuff like that. God damn, you're just 25 years old, so young. I'm also 24, but nowhere near as successful as you. I'm sure you've been successful in your own stuff. I wouldn't say I've been especially successful in anything. I'm doing a PhD. I've not got a PhD. I've got a YouTube channel, but I've not got like a crazy amount of subscribers. I've done quite a few things, like I've written a book and stuff, but I don't know if you'd say that means I'm successful at all. I'm sure you've done your own stuff as well. Can I call you daddy? You can call me whatever you want to. I met Rick Shields at Trafford Centre before last week. That's awesome. I'd love to meet Rick. Rick's cool. Ross, is logic part of the psychology field? What do you mean logic? Expand on the question. Where can I buy your book? There's links in the description. It's an FPL psychology book. How many people have bought your book? I think we've sold just under 1,500 copies. I think just about 1,400 copies of the book or something like that. I've got to go and cook dinner during the first half of the game later. Oof. Not great. It's right. You can return to see that Darwin scored 7 goals in the first half. Flex your biceps, Daddy Raptor. I'm not where I'm wearing a bit of a... I can't really flex my biceps. Maybe on another stream. Can you imagine if I turn up to a stream in a vest? Just in a stringer vest. Did having good psychology teachers in school influence your career path? Yeah, absolutely. I had a fantastic teacher during my GCSEs and A levels, and they helped me a lot. So I think definitely. At university, I don't think as much because I'd already sort of decided at that point, but definitely during GCSE and A level. What store is your book available at? Amazon, Waterstones. There's a third and fourth, but Amazon's the main one. You can pick up a copy of my book. It was a long book. I think it was about 60,000 words, the book. So it was a decent book, but it's not like it wasn't like a 1,000-page book. It's only about 200 and something pages. Do you read much? Do you have a favorite book? I read a ton. I try to read for an hour every night, and I sometimes read on the bus and stuff like that. My favorite book is Why We Sleep or Atomic Habits. I always say the same two. Atomic Habits by James Clear or Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I love the Mistborn trilogy that I just finished as well by Brandon Sanderson. What's my book called? My book's called The Mind Game. Let me get it up. I don't know if it's going to be like particularly visible. Let me bring that over there. If I switch to that one, maybe. That's the book. There you go. If you want to buy a copy of the book, it's £8.99 on paperback. So if you want like a hard copy, it's £8.99. And I think it's £5.99 if you... £5.99, I think, if it's like an ebook, and then you can get it for Kindle Unlimited for zip. You can obviously get it for free. Show us your cup opponent. I'm knocked out the cup. I don't have a cup opponent. Can you twerk on stream? No, I'm not twerking on stream. But yes, I can twerk. I'm amazing, obviously. Do not vape. Do push-ups instead. I don't vape and I do push-ups. So I've taken your advice there. Where did you publish your book? How did you get into Waterstones? I published it with a small publishing company called Halcyon, and Waterstones approached them asking for I think it was only like 60, 70 books to sell online. So I don't know if it's actually in the physical stores, but it's definitely online in their store. Well, it was anyway. They might have sold out. I don't know. How long did it take you to write the book? It took me, from start to finish, 14 months. That's to create the cover, that's to do the publication, that's to do all the writing. To actually write the bulk of it, it probably took me 6 to 8 months to write the 60,000 words. And then it's just about like adjusting, changing the structure. Like we had to change some of the chapters around, the ordering, stuff like that. You have to proofread, you have to print them, you have to get the cover made with the designer, the illustrator. So it's a long process. I could do an entire like 1 hour stream talking about book writing, but I don't think everyone's interested in that. So. Do you read hard or soft copies? I've got a Kindle and I've got an Audible account, so I don't really read hard copies too often. Ross's book histories I've been watching for too long. There you go, Soldier Boy. That is actually amazing. Happy Sexy Millionaire, While We Sleep, Millionaire Fastlane, Psychology of Money, 4,000 Weeks, Diary of a CEO, Atomic Habits. That's literally perfect. You smashed it. Did you design the cover yourself? No, but we had the idea of the phrenology skull. So we had the idea of the skull. We had the idea of the colors. We had the idea of having the green and red arrow. And so we sort of worked back and forth. I think there were about 5 or 6 drafts. So we'd give So he created the first one for us. We gave feedback, sent back, give feedback, and then we eventually landed on that. So it took a while to get, but we're happy with it. You should take the cap off. You look good when you're bald, not going to lie. Thank you. I switch between the two. I know I have a cap on quite a lot, but I do have my big old bald head out occasionally as well. Looking back, is there anything you'd rewrite in your book? One part. One part, but that was more in the thank you parts at the front and the dedication part. Outside of that, the actual content of the book, I'm really happy with. I've read your book. It's a good read with interesting activities to do in it. I enjoyed the self-reflection stuff, and you've got to be honest with yourself when reading it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Isn't £5 or £8 too cheap? Probably. I make very little money. I make about £1.50 from every copy sold after you do delivery costs, after some money goes to the publishing company as well. So, yeah, I've made it at a price where I make very little money every copy I sell, but I didn't write this book to make money. The idea behind this book wasn't let me get rich. You have to sell millions of a copy of book to make that much money. But the idea behind it was I wanted to write a book. I wanted to be able to hold a book that I've written and to positively contribute towards the FPL community as well. So that was the purpose behind it. Like, honestly, don't buy the book if you don't want to. I've never pushed the book to an extent where I'm like forcing. Like, if you're interested in it, buy the book. If not, then don't. It's not. I'll get off the screen now. It's not on there to try and convince you. I was just showing. There we go. That's my team for next week, isn't it? Let me get my team back for this week. Is your book available internationally? Not really. You can get it shipped to most countries, but it's quite expensive because my publishing company do tracked delivery. So it ends up being quite expensive in other countries, unfortunately. Is there a downloadable version of your book? Yeah, you can get like an ebook copy, like a downloadable version through Amazon. It's sold out on the publisher's site. I know, but it's available on Amazon. I did email them. I don't know why it says that. Right. I think I'm going to leave it there because we've been going for 3 hours and 5 minutes. That is a long stream. That's an incredibly long stream. But thank you for being here. If you've been here for the full 3 hours, 5 minutes, I appreciate you more than you know. Mods as well. Mr. Frosty, I appreciate you so much. Yelena, if you're still in here. Andre, all of the mods that have been here from the start, I appreciate you. Claudette, I know you've been here. Soldier Boy. I don't want to list everyone because I'll forget, but thank you if you're one of the people that tunes into like the entire part of the stream. I really do appreciate it. And a bit of a break before Game Week 20. I don't know when the next video will be, but I really do appreciate it. And yeah, probably have a couple of days off, and then there'll be a video for Game Week 20, and hopefully we'll get some sort of Game Week 20 double Game Week announcement, or at least double Game Week 21, because then we can start looking forward to more double Game Weeks, and hopefully get green arrows repeatedly. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye.